We're gonna do an
For parts.
electronic, yeah, for her.
Ms. Halsted?
I'm here.
Ms. Healy?
Here.
Ms. Randall?
Here.
Ms. Sigmund is not here yet. Ms. Solomon is not here yet. Dr. Warner?
Here.
Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we get authorization for Ms. Guy to participate electronically for the parts of the meeting that she's able to?
A motion to allow Ms. Guy to participate in the meeting electronically after the closed session.
A second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We will have Ms. Guy join us electronically following the first closed session. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns?
No.
All right, we will go ahead and, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve the agenda is going forward. Ms.
One motion?
Ms. Sigmund is here just to let it be known for the record. Okay?
To protect its bargaining position or negotiating strategy, the school board will convene a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia to discuss and/or consider the acquisition of real property for the construction of an elementary school or schools, and that is a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are in closed session. Thank you.
Do we have a second? Second.
Dr. Chase?
Agree.
Ms. Guy is absent. Ms. Halsted?
Agreed.
Ms. Healy?
Agree.
Ms. Randall?
Agree.
Ms. Sigmund? Agree. And Dr. Warner?
Agree.
Madam Chair, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to information item 4.01, potential lab school with a 15 minutes discussion. Dr. Towery is here with us now. I will just tell you that I got to attend, this is one of the reasons why I want to talk with you, because I feel like that there's a lot of things I need to figure, but going to visit the lab school was super awesome. It was nice to meet the representatives from Spotsy, King George, of course, us, yeah, Caroline, and Fredericksburg City, and taking the tour and all of that. And Dr. Towery has been gracious enough to invite us as a board to come and see the facility. If we need to host a work session there or something like that, we can do that there, just to make it simpler for ourselves. But man, is that an amazing facility for what you're going to use it for. Really cool. So go ahead.
So I know I was here back in May, and I know Missy linked kind of the presentation from May. Obviously, we've been working through the summer to move things forward with getting the school approved. So this summer, we had initial resolutions signed, or a vote to sign them from all 5 school divisions in Planning District 16. I was able to do a number of different stakeholder engagement events with Chamber of Commerce, Fredericksburg Regional Alliance, different things like that. We were able to get a basic course map out done, so we are working on some additional, what some of the additional elective offerings will look like, which I'm sure you saw some of that featured in kind of some of the Q&A responses, the description of what that might look like from an academic standpoint. We submitted our application in early August and are going through that process, and then we've been working on some operations planning. It is a wonderful facility and has it's already very well set up for the type of instruction that we're hoping to do in that space, with lots of collaborative time, interdisciplinary time, etc. It is a 25-year-old building, so if we are able to get sufficient grant funding, I would like to do a few upgrades and do some modernization things, but even if we didn't get any money for that stuff, it's, the building as is is in great shape to host a program like this. And then we were able to, in the last month, get a, just initial website started and social media platforms, through Facebook and Instagram, and then, the communications team at UMW, has been working, in providing, doing some logo design and, allowing us to move through that. So this fall, we're gonna continue moving through the school approval process, which we think will happen before the semester's over, and then continue to provide. I'd like to get some more stakeholder engagement opportunities scheduled to, bring out some more, families and get kind of parent input into these things, and then, we'll be starting to have in the next, 4 to 8 weeks, more in-depth conversations with various school boards around kind of the full operating agreement and looking to get that formal organization started. I've been having meetings with, both Germanna and Rappahannock Community College to explore some opportunities for dual and concurrent enrollment, and what those possibilities might look like, and continue to work on starting to get into curriculum development, and then, launch the recruitment and application process as we move through the fall. So I'm adding my contact information here, the website's there, social media information, as always, reach out on it. And are there any questions on this, or kind of follow-up questions based on what we sent?
So you said that we had voted? I missed when that vote was that said that we were definitely doing this.
So May 9th was the resolution. There was a
To-
vote for an initial resolution that,
just
that was
remember-
where Dr.
yeah.
Randall was nominated.
I just-
That
I
was to
just-
work on, wasn't that to work on a committee?
Right.
That
Right,
was
so
looking
that's,
into it.
that's,
It was
and
kind of
then,
an
and then
investigative
the part I
committee.
highlighted this fall is, which I think you all are looking at that today for
The
the first time,
operating.
is the shift
I just
from.
was,
we're not
I-
open to
what you
the-
said made me think that we had, so I
No,
wanted
no,
to
no,
clarify
no, this
what-
was just the initial resolution sign,
Right.
not a full-blown operation, but
Okay.
the official legal document was called resolution for,
I think it said we were interested in, we
Right.
wanted to
Mhm.
pursue it, and we have a
Mhm.
representative
Right.
to work, with the board.
I just have a question.
Yes.
The School of Technology, it's a lab school based on where's the technology coming from and who's buying it?
well, that's what the startup grant is for.
Okay, but is that enough? I mean, to outfit an entire school with all the other things that it needs, but if you're basing it on technology, that can be a pretty hefty investment, and I just didn't think the initial startup grant was sufficient
Yeah,
for that.
so focus on, computer and data science components is kind of the key thematic areas of that, and then we're looking at that as applied across content areas, so kind of leaning into UMW's roots in kind of liberal arts and sciences, and looking to provide a place where both your traditional kind of STEM kids will feel very at home, but also your kids who maybe gravitate more towards liberal arts and sciences, but know they're gonna need some robust coding, data science skills to make themselves marketable in those fields, so that's kind of some of what we're looking at doing. The nice thing about this building is UMW is leaving all the furniture that's there, all of the projectors, all of the pull-down screens, so that is really helping make the startup and operating grant pieces go further. And then.
Because it was only like $500,000, I think.
That was just that was a planning grant.
The planning grant was $250,000.
Okay.
The startup and operating grant, you can ask for at least $1 million.
Okay, so we haven't submitted that.
No, we have to
Okay.
get formal approval, and then
Okay.
we can apply for that next round of grant
All right.
funding.
And then as we get into the application process, I'm really concerned that the students aren't gonna reflect the diversity that we have in our, so how are we going to accommodate that?
I'm gonna have to be really aggressive in that recruitment piece this fall. That was something, quite frankly, that we faced, back when I was in my previous role, and we had the CTE grant for what became the Cyber 4 Plus program. That was a very intentional focus on that, and we were able to, and I was really satisfied with how that tool turned out, but it took very intentional conversations with counselors, with administrators, with different people to say, this is a school for anybody, and we wanna, anybody who's interested in doing this type of work, here's some ways we're gonna support them and give them, access to rigorous educational opportunities, but also provide wraparound supports to help meet where they are with that zone of proximal development and help them level up if they are not in that place yet. So one of the things I'm thinking about is for a kid that doesn't have algebra, how can we infuse in an interdisciplinary approach to algebra, geometry, and algebra 2, where they're doing algebra 1, half of geometry embedded in that, which I think makes geometry a little more accessible anyways. Then same thing with algebra 2, second half of geometry embedded in that. That'll help those kids still get access to, okay.
Thank you. No, I just want to make sure that we are not creating
Yes.
a private high school inside of a school system, which is my concern.
100%.
Ms. Thigman, do you have any questions?
I love this. I love the idea of having students and parents in. Getting the parent buy-in I know is crucial for this conversation, your conversation as well. I have a 7th grader and a 5th grader, and it's a lot to ask them to make a big change and to apply to, put themselves out there for a program, but also with the kind of location change that comes with what we would be anticipating. We just have to be very clear with what that looks like and supporting the families in particular.
So I had a couple
okay,
other
sure.
questions. So where is the brain power for the computer coding stuff and things like that coming from? Because Mary Washington is not particularly strong in computer science. So where do you envision that coming from?
So I envision it coming from staff that we're gonna hire to teach, same as we do in our other high schools, right? You look for people with computer science endorsements, backgrounds in statistics and kind of the emerging
So, I mean, I'm
data
just
science
curious
field.
Business
what
partners.
this is, like, I don't see how this gives children a different opportunity than doing it in their own school. So what is it about the lab school that's giving them some other opportunity that they can't have in their home school?
So most comprehensive high schools are extremely siloed by subject and content area pieces. We will have some flexibility at the school by being a regional program to have some flexibility to do things more interdisciplinary, in a more interdisciplinary manner. Such as the math piece I just kind of highlighted, right? Now that's math and math, but we're also looking at that English and history will be taught kind of embedded and simultaneously. We are able to do some things with, Michael just mentioned business partners where you can bring them in sometimes as content experts. I've been having a number, part of why I've been so actively trying to have conversations with FRA and Chamber of Commerce and some of these different groups is I want to make sure that kids are kind of from day one getting robust real world experiences and that you're kind of blurring that line a little bit between K-12 higher ed and then what it looks like to go out into the workforce. And it's really hard to do that in a comprehensive high school. Now, one of the things I'd like to do long term is kind of I see this twofold for divisions looking at participate. I see the potential benefit to the 9th through 12th graders who go there, but I also have in my mind's sight also that supporting school divisions with building not only teacher pipeline and a STEM teacher pipeline, hopefully both starting at the high school level, but also through the partnership with College of Education, but also working with school divisions and their current teachers on starting to bring those strategies back out into comprehensive high school, right? So there's some things you can do in a regional program setting.
Your friends are outside.
Far too fast for that road.
In a regional setting that allow you to more easily break down those kind of academic silos that often emerge when you have a math hallway and a history hallway and, you know, different things, but looking to see how you can use it as a demonstration site to spill that over, so maybe you can't replicate the entire thing, but how do you use that to start to allow, even in comprehensive high schools around participating school divisions, for them to be able to try more interdisciplinary strategies, whether it's starting with the lesson that you plan with a history teacher and a science teacher, doing more of those types of approaches.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other question is, I mean, in reading through the operating thing, it sounds like it's really a school in Stafford, and that Stafford has to run this school. And that was not apparent initially, and so if Stafford were to choose to no longer want to participate, how does that play out?
In terms of Stafford as the fiscal agent,
Well, yeah, and I mean, we're supposed to be operating all kinds of stuff according to the agreement, right? We're in charge of hiring everybody, and we're in charge of the day-to-day
Fiscal agency.
operating. Well, I mean, it's a level of fiscal agent that's a little different than some of our other fiscal agent stuff. So
Stafford will receive compensation in return for those services in terms of student seats, which equals a monetary swap out, so there is compensation for that.
Right, and I saw that, but I saw that we have one vote on what the contract looks like, and everybody else has more votes on what the contract looks like. So if we're not happy with the contract,
It's a UMW school, so I mean theoretically we could extricate ourselves just like we would in the other contract.
Well, that's gonna be in that agreement that we.
Yeah, I
Right,
think
and
it
it
was
was
by
We haven't
February
seen yet.
15th or something.
no,
We have to.
by February 15th is when a fiscal agent gets selected if 3/4 of the board makes that decision.
Oh, I
There's
got it.
nothing about getting out of being fiscal agent.
Well, we haven't signed that operating
Right,
agreement.
right.
The operating agreement is going to say,
CGS
you know,
says we
what
have
the
to notify.
responsibilities are, and I would expect that an operating agreement would say that in the event, you know, someone resigns or chooses to leave the program, then, you know, that their responsibilities are reassigned or something to that.
If I might add, at Code RV, when I opened that school, we started with one fiscal agent and moved to a different fiscal agent. And that was something that was negotiated on the side where we said, you know, who's willing to do it? And Henrico County Public Schools picked up the fiscal agency. It was a board vote to shift the fiscal agency.
Right.
And
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, for CGS, we have stuff that says that if the fiscal agent wishes to cease being the fiscal agent, they just need to let people know by X date, and they can get out of it, and there's nothing in this agreement that says that.
Well, did we
Yeah.
sign that?
We have not signed it yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's all good points to make
Yeah.
that we need to address in an agreement.
Right, right.
So that's gonna
But
be,
I do think that might be spelled out in the MOU between the regional school board and the fiscal agent, which is one of the next steps. So that would have steps to extricate themselves as well. I don't know, Thomas, in your experience.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So that would likely be in the MOU with this fiscal agent.
okay, so as a timekeeper,
Yep.
we need to continue this discussion, but we need to speed it up because we're already finished with this time.
Yes. Did you have anything?
Yeah.
So I'm actually not gonna say anything, don't pass out. No,
But you are saying something.
I know, there's a lot of exciting things in here, and I think Dr. Chase makes some really good points. So I think just as this process evolves and grows, it'll be interesting to watch. Hopefully the holes be filled in. So I'm gonna leave it at that for now. I feel like theoretically, this is an awesome experience, and your vision is, you always have a vision that I enjoy hearing about, so.
Ms. Sigmund, did you have anything else you wanted to ask? Okay.
I just have one question. Are the staff of this academy UMW staff or are they school staff?
There are staff.
so they will be dually employed. They will be primarily on the K-12 licensure teaching piece running through the fiscal agent, as is
But
the case
who-
with.
Whose umbrella did they come over? When you say they're dually employed, somebody's gotta be the employer that pays them, will that be?
So the regional school board will do their full-time employment and contracts piece, but it'll run through the K-12 fiscal agent. They will have a part-time position with UMW as well, that will be professional development adjunct position, which will
So whose pay scale will they be on?
Stafford's pay scale,
You have Stafford as the fiscal agent.
correct?
And unless the regional school board determines that they would like to have their own pay scale, which they would have the right to do so.
And the regional school board is.
But that's gonna be in the operating agreement, right?
That would be in the,
Yeah.
That's gotta be in the operating, I mean, we can't get into something that we don't know, what the rules are for, or what authority we have, or what authority we don't have. So if the regional school board can do certain things, is that not gonna be spelled out in this operating agreement?
Well, the problem is, the regional school board, and there's the regional school board and there's a governing board, because the way the law is written, it's a very convoluted process. So my concern is that the governing board may say, you know what, we wanna pay the salaries based on the scale of Mary Washington, and we are saying they're paid on the scale of Stafford. The regional board says, no, we'll keep it with the fiscal agency. The governing board technically has more votes from Mary Washington than the regional school board. So it's until the law gets changed, it's a very convoluted process that leaves a lot of these things
So is
kind
this
of
gonna be in this
in a gap.
operating agreement? I'm assuming the operating, it's gonna say how it's gonna operate.
No, so here's you're in a chicken and egg argument here. And you've given authority to Ms. Randall to sit on a committee to hash out all the things that you are discussing.
Yeah.
As the representative from Stafford.
Yeah, but we just were getting.
You hashed out any of these yet?
Oh, no, we just got a tour of the school
Yeah.
and got to meet everybody else.
So you're at the very beginning stage, but there's a lot to do in a short period of time, and that's okay, that's not irregular.
I was confused about, like, we're signing this thing that says we're committing for 5 years, but then at the end it says this MOU is only good until August, so I wasn't quite sure what that meant.
So you've got a couple of issues that need to be mitigated that Dr. Warner's pointed out. You think, the best way to think about this would be like establishing a provisional government so that you can establish the government that you want to work under. So right now, the way that the law is set up doesn't allow for the structure that everyone will be most comfortable with, where there would be more of a say for your LEAs. I'm not sure we would even recommend to this board that you put yourself in a position where you didn't have level authority. So, but I think it is in your best interest to be at the table when those discussions are being made versus having somebody else make those decisions and then come late to the party. So.
Right, but so let's say that the majority of the board that Ms. Randall has one vote on comes up with something that we don't like. At what point do we still have the autonomy to get out?
In August of 2024,
Okay.
you will have another opportunity to say yes or no.
Okay,
We're not
and so
in.
when
We're
we're
not in yet,
recruiting
right? Other than
students
planning.
to
Correct.
start in the fall of '24, will we be telling them, this may not happen?
Potentially. Kind of get the
And
asterisk right
what
there.
impact will that have on people wanting to sign their kids up for a program that they may not know is going to happen? Like suddenly it doesn't happen in August and they
It's
then.
too late to get into one of the other
Right,
ones.
right.
I think that there's a lot that our folks do, that they have faith in their leaders to solve problems and to get it done, so.
The problem here is the regional element, that it's not us having faith in our leaders, it's us working with other components that we may or may not, know or
And there's two separate
have confidence in.
governing
Boards,
boards that could
yes.
technically be in conflict as well.
Well,
So
and the thing to keep in mind on the separate governing boards though is the broader governing board with the where UMW has votes is focused on higher ed related things. The regional school board where UMW does not
Operation.
have votes is focused on what a
Is there
K-12 school board
clearly
needs to do.
delineated in this?
Yes.
It is clearly delineating.
pace is probably
Okay,
sickening.
we're almost 50%
Okay.
No, don't be so
Okay.
These are
So-
important questions.
They
Oh,
are.
no, they are. They
Potential
absolutely are.
specialty centers.
Next slide. Here? It is. Okay, just to update you on the current actions, we're in the midst of stakeholder meetings. We've been working with our business partners, work-based learning partners, working with staff to develop what this will look like in terms of the program of studies for your consideration in October, then November. So there are a lot of logistical pieces, including budget projections and the development of Q&A. And then your general next steps are bringing it to you all in October for consideration for the first review, and then for having a visit to Academies of Hampton on October 25th, which we're super excited about. And then coming back to you for full adoption of the program of studies in November. Then we would be doing the active recruitment as well as enrollment and selection of students. With that, I'll turn it over to you all for questions that you have based on the extensive question and answer.
We're
Yes.
still working
Thank you.
through a potential date change for October 25th. I notified the board in the board
Yes.
bulletin that we're trying to accommodate schedules a little bit friendlier. Of course, working with Hampton, they kind of hold the cards, but they're sensitive to that and they're trying to come up with a plan for us.
If the groundbreaking for high school 6, is that what's going to be moved, or is the visit going to be moved?
No, we had another conflict on the 25th that, well, actually, nothing could end up being moved as a matter of fact, so it all kind of just depends. So we're kind of waiting on them to get a response.
It's just my calendar sucks right now.
Yeah, we're all there.
Okay.
I hope you're including our student members on the academy trip, because their feedback, I think, is gonna be.
We actually have a number of school board advisory committee members and business partners that are also interested in this. The school board members of Hampton City have also volunteered to meet with Stafford school board members one-on-one, if that's something that the board is interested in.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left in this area here. We were given, Mr. Bowling sent us quite a list of questions and answers. Hope you guys have a chance to read that. So I can go around and give everyone a round of questions here real quick. And then if there's anything else that you would like, we can definitely, again, email and have it put together in a memo for us by the end of the week or next. Ms. Halsted, can we start with you?
No, can
Oh.
you start somewhere else right
Yeah.
now? So I had a whole bunch of questions when I was reading this, but
Okay.
I almost feel like it's too soon to ask them, so because,
Okay,
you know, there's so much to process for me,
Okay.
even reading this, but.
Ms. Sigmund?
I'll be my broken record self on this particular topic. I think all of this is very chicken and egg for me. It is no secret that I have been increasingly and incredibly frustrated with the middle school program. We've changed it every year I've had a middle schooler,
Same.
4 years. So,
6 or 9?
and then we're developing this high school program without having a stable middle school program. I'm not passing a value judgment on whether it's good or bad, it's just a lot of change. So do we build a high school program that we base our middle school program off of? Or do we have to have a stable middle school program in order to know where to put our high school emphasis, or how to have, I just can't figure that out. And it, you know, that's where I'm stuck.
Okay. Dr. Chase?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said before, and I still feel like we aren't really engaging with the public to let them know some of the changes, right? So getting rid of automotive at Stafford High School is something that we need to actually let people know before we take away the automotive there. When Stafford High School was built, there was a lot of community concern about the fact that initially there was not gonna be automotive there, and people threw a fit, and we ended up putting in, and that's why it's separate from the rest of the school. And so for us from my perspective, for me to agree to take that away without letting the public know that we're doing that, I'm not comfortable with that. Similarly, if we're gonna remove Brook Point's IB program, I think we need to be upfront that that's happening as we approve these things, because people will be very surprised that we made these changes without letting
Can
them
I
know.
ask why the Points IB program is getting?
We've been, a part of the conversation that we had with these academies, centers, whatever they're gonna be called, is about like consolidating and making school a particular place. Instead of duplicating and triplicating programs throughout the county, make a school the place for something like this. And not to say that we won't have 2 IBs, or we won't have, instead of 3 CGSs, we have 2 CGSs or so. We're not saying that per se, but it's a possibility, and so that's all part of the conversation and the, of what we're trying to get.
And so I'm really asking that we actually hold a public meeting and we advertise it to families that we're going to talk about the pros and cons, or what we're keeping and what we're getting rid of, and not just kind of vaguely mention it, but not really let people know.
So in that vein then, it makes me, it just like popped in my head, it makes me wonder if, I know you haven't, because we haven't voted on something, but I know there was a Pathways invitation and then it had to go away. But that would be an ideal night to at least share and show or give thought and ideas. If, I mean, the ones I attended with my kids, it was always widely attended, but it would be a fair place. I mean, that's just one place, I wouldn't say the only, but I would say that something like that would be a fair place to, show a model of what is going to happen, but because people are gonna be wide-eyed and like, wow, this is a lot of information, make sure it's also equally showing what could potentially not be at their home schools anymore. So I think that that would be helpful to them.
I mean, I just know Brook Point parents were furious that they lost AP classes because they got IB, and now we're talking about taking IB away, and we're not publicizing this beyond, my questions just come in a weekly memo, and we have a work session, but it's not really being,
So all this is on board docs,
right.
Yeah.
Parents are busy, it's,
and we've had a
I
number
agree.
of focus groups.
Voice from above.
and engagement sessions with
mine,
community
yeah.
stakeholders.
Right.
So we've been meeting with folks in focus groups and community stakeholders to talk through issues. There's pros and cons, just like you've articulated. That's not a mystery.
Right, but I'm not hearing from them, and I'm the one who has to vote, so.
Okay.
I'm co-signing on what she's saying, y'all, because Brook Point was livid when we lost AP. And if they're gonna lose IB, we gotta be really clear, or potentially, we gotta be really clear about that. Because I don't want to get beat up the way Dana Reinbold did verbally, because she didn't know, and she didn't tell us. And we had every right to tell her off, and we did. And I don't want that to happen, so if that is a real possibility, like a very real possibility, then we definitely need to let people know, or tell me to run around and tell everybody,
Same with
so that they don't find out.
I just think that we need to be really clear on how programs are gonna be distributed, what's going away, what's staying, where it's
Yeah.
going, and that has to be clear. And then there needs to be a public hearing so that the community can voice their opinion. The other thing I'm concerned about is if we wanna put all this investment in academies for high school, we need to have elementary school and middle school students that are ready to go into these academies. And right now, our grades aren't that great, our scores aren't that well. We have kids that can't write and they can't read on grade level. And until we get those things fixed, these academies become more of a challenge, in my humble opinion. So I need more information. that's, you know, that's my only comment for tonight, because I'm gonna go through this again, I've read it before, but I just think there's a lot more questions, and I'm not sure that
Can we have those questions?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'd
it
like
would
to
be
ask the
helpful if they had
questions.
them.
No, I did send you questions, so no, and a lot of my questions have been answered. But I need to process, and I think there's still too many unknowns, that we don't know exactly what programs are being moved, what programs are going away, what programs are being consolidated. And it's difficult to ask questions without knowing that information and how it's gonna impact students.
So let me just say, I mean,
Yeah.
so I feel better now that I'm hearing you all talk, because I know I'm on the right track. 'Cause for a minute there, when you asked me to go first, I was like, I don't know.
Oh my God, we didn't agree, did we?
Not out loud. But anyway, but I think for me, because I love the academy model, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's a great way to have our kids early on strive to get into something, because it has an important moniker to it, as it were, but I'm a little gun shy on pulling the trigger for, like, let's just do it now and then see how it goes, because I can't, in my mind, visualize the rollout either based on just words. So is there a graphic or I hate to do this, but like, as a visual person, can we get a look at, like you're saying, like a side-by-side comparison, Brookpoint has, Brookpoint won't have, Brookpoint will have, does that make sense? So that we can understand as a board, you know, exactly for each school, what's taking place, what's going to replace what particular thing. That, if I can get that visualization, because for me, I'm like, this definitely sounds great, but I am super concerned about the middle school and the lag that we have in middle school. Because I don't wanna set them up for failure either, to enter into this amazing academy and not have really qualified them for it first, right? Like, and on paper, I think it all sounds fantastic, but I need it to come up a little bit out of the paper, just a little bit more.
And I get that these aren't like honors programs, there's a
Correct.
real qualification, but if they're,
But
But
you're
then
setting them
again,
up
we have to have
as
those
well.
wraparound services like we're talking about for the lab school, because
Right.
it's not.
SOLs still have to be passed.
And I like the academy idea, I really do. I'm just having a hard time seeing how we do this in the timeline that we're suggesting and what it exactly looks like.
So just out of curiosity, because I'm hearing pause, consensus-wise, would this be more agreeable to you all if it didn't start next fall but the year after? Would it be more of a, oh yeah, I could do this? Would that be that?
Well, that would give us
With
a-
answers, but just, I mean, saying,
Once we have a better sense of where's the community with this and what are the,
And how's our middle school program looking? I mean, there's a lot of questions that we would be able to answer with another year to plan, and that's
so
just true.
that, is that the, more the consensus then, is it's too fast
I would agree
to
with
roll
that.
for next September? That's just kind of the senses that I'm getting from the room.
So we don't jump in without knowing exactly
I really
how
do-
deep the water is.
But yeah, I don't wanna make a mistake,
Because
because
see,
it's a
my
huge
thing-
investment if we're wrong.
Yeah,
I thought, like, at the beginning, I really thought that we were doing this to open with high school 6, because once we have stuff, like,
Well,
we
and
wanna
again,
have stuff.
how do we, yeah, because we're gonna have to figure out what we're putting in high school 6 and how this is gonna integrate into what we're trying to do. So I think there's just, like I said, there's so many unknowns that it's really difficult for me to trust that it's
set and ready.
right, that it's really ready to go. Next year, which is what we're talking about. Next year with the opening of the lab school, we're talking about also starting the first academy,
the
correct?
first two academies.
2 academies.
No, the lab school
No,
and
it would
one
be lab
academy.
school and 2
Two
academies.
academies,
Okay.
yeah.
Two steps, yeah.
Okay. I just, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I just having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. Maybe I'm not as smart as everybody else, so.
Maya, do you want to add in?
But I did agree with Ms. Halsted.
put that in the minutes.
Seriously,
Miss Guy,
yellow.
do you have anything you want
I
to?
don't think I'm the same, I don't think my sentiment, maybe I don't know if I'm the same. I don't think it's paused as much as it was just a little bit more details, like I am very interested in knowing what was, you know, taken away or consolidated. You know, especially with, you know, some of us Brookpoint parents are still here from the last, you know, kerfuffle. So that's all, I just definitely want to let people know moving forward the potentials. That's really it for me. And then also, I want to understand the why too. And I think Dr. Chase was explaining to me that at Stafford, they have like the biggest program in the county, but it might be, it might be taken away, but then are all those students gonna, well, no, I know they're not.
I said automotive, that they would have the highest enrollment.
I don't know, I just wanted more detail.
And for
So
me,
that-
just to piggyback on Maya and the pause, so if it requires a pause, that's fine, but I need these words to lift up out of the paper more, so I can look at them from
Even
more
for the,
angles.
just the first two academies.
Yeah,
What happens to get this ready in 2024? What gets moved, what gets what's put in place, what's consolidated, so that it's more concrete, because right now I feel like it's a little squishy.
I know the program direction, like I know the academy directions.
Right, I get that.
I get the footprint of how that's gonna progress for each of the years, I get that. I get that there's entrances, on-ramps and off-ramps, which
Yep.
is exactly what we asked for.
Right.
I get that's been done. I get that you were talking, the biggest piece of this is human capital in trying to find teachers where they are and move them to a new place. And in some cases, that might not be agreeable to them, but in most cases, it's their program they love, they'll go to another building if that's what it takes. I get all of those things. In looking at, this was helpful to me, this was huge and helpful to me, to see the data from 2019, I'm sorry, this isn't included in our stuff, this was sent to us already separately.
Yeah.
But to see the enrollment numbers, it really, I'm the CTE liaison, and it really warms my heart to see that CTE, where it started, and how things kind of were rough for a while, has really done well in the past couple years. For me, I'm all about, like, I think we have solidly put CGS and IB, and we've taken care of those programs, and we have done a lot, I think, for some of our lower levels, but for me, this speaks to the heart of the majority and the most of our students, and this is the piece that I want to see succeed for them, because I feel like this has been a long time coming, and I feel like there's, like I said, there's been a lot of emphasis on, the upper college prep, AP, IB, kind of kids, and I just feel like there needs to be something else. And we have it interspersed places, but to help these kids get a definite path where they go on something, like my son, he did the 4 trades at Stafford, and said, yeah, not for me, Mom. And, but now he took his small engine repair and he does boats and jet skis. So, he found a way to take it out of high school. But I just really kind of feel that I want to see this happen sooner rather than later for my heart. But I can understand, the consensus of the board and the pause. But my heart, I just want to see it, because I feel like there's a section of kids that are missing something from our school system, and this is offering it to them. That's how I feel. So, yes, Ms.
Just
Gilly.
very quickly.
Yep.
I like the idea of looking at it for the next school year, because I do think, as pretty much people have said, we need to look at the middle schools and what that program, and we've instituted some significant changes in the middle school program, which hopefully we will begin to see pretty quick results from. And that will put us in a different position. I also think we have a strong CTE program now. I mean, we're looking at, enhancements in the academies, but we have a lot of opportunities for the students. And before we go and start taking things away, and that's how it's gonna be viewed, even though we're gonna be adding academies, but we're going to be taking away, we do need to get that input, because I think I was the strongest supporter
I know you were.
for the automotive program in Stafford High School, and when it came out, I'm like, are you sure? I mean, I'm from the north, but I know how important that was, and
And
it
the
wasn't just the
community came out.
parents, it was the
Teachers.
the teachers,
Yep.
it was the former
I spoke with-
students,
spoke
it was
with
the
Jet last night.
employers. There, all over, people came out and said, do you realize what you're doing
Yeah.
to our school and the community? So rather than make a potential mistake, because we have not had time to reach out, and I think it's gonna be more than one public hearing, really.
Oh.
Is we ought to really have some plan to go across the county. I'd like to
Everybody's gotta buy
buy us
in.
that time.
Everybody's gotta buy in, and so that means our parents and families. And the
Well-
only way we can do that is through public hearing to know where they are.
And it's gonna be more of an impact. The immediate response is gonna be from the parents of kids that are gonna potentially be participating. But it's really longer term than that. It's the kids coming into the kindergartens, you know, all the way up who, you know, we want this to be a long-term benefit. So I like that idea. I think we need to continue what we're doing, but if we don't know where we're going, if we don't know, how is the public gonna know?
You know, and when do we start dissolving the STAT programs into these?
Right, and Miss Guy, we didn't know at Mountain View either, when that IB program came in, I had a lot of response from my constituents, what happened to the AP, what happened to the DE, and it was because we had the IB, so that wasn't just a surprise at Brook Point, it was also a surprise at Mountain View, although we should have learned from the surprise at Mountain View to, you know, give the alert out in advance.
Okay,
But one thing I remember Ms. Healy is Ms. Reingold saying that she didn't know.
yeah.
And that
Well,
the board didn't know, and I just want to make sure I know so that I can brace for impact.
We didn't know in Mountain View either, but then we
All
found
right,
out.
we have to,
You're right.
have we given enough information, too much information for you, Mr. Bully? Okay.
I was here to answer your questions.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right, so if we could, we have 60 minutes left, and we need to make sure that we finish our legislative CIP budget priorities so that we can go into another closed session. So let's go ahead and start on our legislative priorities.
Do we want to defer any of this? We can't defer any of this until the next time? Because there's no way we're not even staying on track, and we've got 20 and I would say at least 20 for the budget, that's
We'll
an
have to-
hour.
we'll have to-
And there's no time for the closed session, or,
We'll have to go faster then.
Maybe we should eat while we're doing these other things, and then the closed session can go to the end if we run out of time.
yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
So you wanna take like 5 minutes to?
Yeah, let's take 5 to 10 minutes to go potty, get food, 5
Yeah.
minutes. Thank
You
you,
made me
timekeeper.
tired.
Thank you, timekeeper.
I'm
5 minutes, go potty,
whispering
get
to
your
Miss
meal.
Randall, our time is up.
All right, get up and
5
run.
minutes.
Get up and run.
I don't need 5 minutes, I'm gonna just, I can get food there.
Yes. Everyone has been contributing different legislative priorities. As you can see, we've got quite a hefty list. And they have some rankings for '23. Doesn't mean necessarily this is what we have to finalize and go with. We can change anything we want. We can also push something off to a '24 ranking. If everyone's had a chance to review this, is there anything that anyone would like to jump out and say, change, yes, no?
Who are we giving this to? I mean, what is
The legislative dinner.
What is the purpose of this? This is for the legislative?
We'll be having a legislative
Okay.
Yes.
summit
All right, so this
on
is
Yes.
for
December.
our legislature?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I suggest we not have it too long, because we, you know, want.
How long was our list last year? Was it just 4 items?
It was 7 items.
7?
We rank ordered them on the left as their 2023 rank. We
Oh, I'm sorry.
organized them in a way this year, and this is just a staff recommendation, but we put them in staff recommended order for this year on the right, but it's really for you all to decide how you want to rank them.
I was
or not
misunderstanding,
including
because
them
when
at
you
all.
wrote 23 rank, I thought that was for this year.
It was for
Sorry.
it was for the 23 General Assembly
Got it,
session
got it, sorry.
versus the
Wow.
24.
Well, I like the sales tax for school construction.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be a priority, because it's gonna take us a long time to
But-
get it.
And I would
We need
recommend.
supervisors to ask for that,
We
right?
need the supervisors, but but then you need a legislative fix as well, so there's only 9 communities in the state that have it. I thought that was 14, but it's only 9. And I remember being a delegate at VSBA, and one of them said that it took like 6 years to get it.
Oh.
I would also recommend that we have ones that have a fiscal impact and those that don't.
So I think that
There are on here, but as far as what we choose as a board to prioritize and not prioritize, they shouldn't all be money ones and not all be not money ones. Stop arm cameras is probably an easy,
Do we need legislation for that?
We
That's
use
just the
requirement.
supervisors, isn't it?
That's what I thought too, wasn't that just a supervisor ordinance change?
they want to remove the requirement for a local ordinance. It's on here.
I'd like to move cost to compete down, personally, I'd like to see the whole thing abolished.
Well, that could be our position on it, and that's
I
why I
would
think
like
it
that.
should say at the top, either to be amended in our favor or abolished altogether.
So we've got an intended outcome column on the right of what we are looking for. You've got the topic in the third column and the what we propose that you insist upon. They are weighted in terms of at least the first handful, in terms of the magnitude of impact fiscally. The most significant magnitude fiscally would be your full JLARC study funding, followed by COCA, followed by the support position cap removal, followed by sales tax option for school construction. And I think you have a lot of legislative partners that would want to go in on that. We're not the only locality that's interested in that. What you're looking for is permission from the General Assembly for all localities really to have the right to do that. Mental health supports would be your next substantial fiscal impact, followed by assistant principals, ESOL staffing, work-based learning. And then there's a few down below that also have a fiscal impact but not really substantial. The Narcan use of students being a little bit more permissive of that, updating the lab school law, none of those cost a nickel. Your VPSA funding for the lab school budget, this would just allow lab schools to access VPSA funding. This is $26,000, so like we're not talking like a huge sum of money there. Reestablishing some guidelines for local education agencies to collect student meal debt. The Numeracy Act is something that we found interesting to us, but it's not nearly as high of a priority as some of the other things. We added a few down at the bottom that are kind of some brand new ones. Some that came from board members, some that came from staff. Have a heck of a hard time with juvenile court services in terms of some of the directives that they give. There's a lack of clarity on when they dismiss a student, whether or not they're giving us clear guidance on whether or not that student should be enrolled in an alternative setting or a general education setting. This would just be one more line for a court clerk or a judge to fill out. Employment verifications is something we would love to get a little bit more, have a little bit more teeth on, and some stringent component. And also another piece too is that when we make a student records request, we'd love for there to be a little bit more cooperation from our neighboring school divisions in terms of information sharing.
So can you clarify, we had the big Narcan thing with all the people, so we trained all those kids and we handed them Narcan, but they're not allowed to have it in school.
Correct.
Okay.
So no fiscal thing there.
No, and I think I remember, and maybe I
Just cleaning up the
misremembered.
code.
Yeah.
We had a section in our last handout that was basically like, these are language changes, if you could get this
Yeah.
administratively, that doesn't necessarily need a legislative
Action.
bill written and, you know, the whole process,
Cleaning up the
but
code.
I would love to have a section on that as
Why don't we have
well.
recommendations?
Yeah.
Maybe we
And
could have
those-
two sections,
That could be recommendations,
Yeah.
rather than legislative priorities, if they're just administrative
And
changes.
that's what I was gonna get to, maybe have things that are fiscally important to us, and then have a slate of recommendations that would just clean up things and make our life easier.
I would probably move ESOL staffing up higher, because I feel like that's a huge impact to Stafford County right now.
Or we'd switch it with the APs maybe?
Yeah,
Do school nurses currently carry narcan in their, like?
Yes.
But so, with this specific, thing, would it be, students would be allowed to carry narcan in school?
If there was a language change, there would have to be a language change in order for that to happen.
So other states, what they have done is that they have in their state code or state law, is that students that have gone through the 10 to 15 minute training can carry it,
Okay.
so.
So if we are doing our 2024 rank, I'm with I'd like to see Coco just, well, let me just ask you this. Is putting that as a first priority when I heard that you guys talk about in your FAB meeting that there's a study to study the study for this, is this even like a relevant thing to go after since there's a study to do a study?
Yeah, this is probably the item that every locality should really be turning up the heat on, because the findings were so damning as to how localities and the state finance their school system in the Commonwealth. It just showed how grossly behind we are, and of course, we're behind in a state that's behind. So it's compounded for us locally. So whether it's endorsing COCA or whether it's endorsing the JLARC study findings or both, that those are gonna have your most significant fiscal impact to your operating budget.
Because I can guarantee you right now, Fairfax and Loudoun are currently telling their lobbyists to keep it right as it is. And that leaves us
Right where we are.
right where we are, and allows them to continue to get.
They no longer need those funds.
And
They've
that's
already
why we need
outcompeted
to
us.
continue to be vocal about why we had the issue in the first place, why we have a study every 10 years in the first place, and that even this study of the study is a hardship on vast majority of municipalities.
So we asked for these things last year, and my understanding is due consideration was not given, as it were, or the way it appeared, because they were not brought up by any one of our legislative.
So, you got some movement on some things. You definitely had COCA discussed in the General Assembly. You had some of the SOQ components wrapped up into the JLARC conversation and the removal of the support cap as part of the discussion that happened. There was definitely a discussion of the state's sales tax for school construction, although we weren't one of the beneficiaries of it. You did have some legislation tied to the lab school. Of course, it would be friendlier for us in terms to have a little bit more of flex in the decision-making, and, it's kind of a no-go-go for us. If we have that flex, it makes it a lot easier for us to say yes in a governance agreement than it does if we don't. But some of these other issues, Numeracy Act got put on ice. School lunch debt collections was an issue 3 years ago in the General Assembly, which kind of stuck us in an adverse position, and we want them to revisit some of the impacts of it, maybe not completely reverse it, but to reevaluate the impacts of some of that decision-making.
Or maybe they should put some money behind it.
Yep.
Or maybe put some
One way or
behind
the
it.
other, we've got to be able to collect, or they've got to,
Yeah.
it's basically setting us up for an unfunded
It is an
mandate.
unfunded
We need to.
mandate, yeah, there's no other way around it. Some creative stuff that we have, the work-based learning is something that is a need. It is something that gets a lot of lip service in Richmond and in Washington,
Yeah,
but not
it does.
in dollars behind it, so, we say put some dollars behind it.
Okay, so can I get a consensus as to what we would like to go forth as our first ranking?
I think the JLARC study, I think
Yeah,
the
that's the
2023,
one.
I think let's stop talking about COCA completely and go with the JLARC study to fix. I think that would also have more universal appeal across the state. A lot of other districts might prefer that.
Well, I don't disagree, it's the preferred. It's unrealistic to expect that they would do that since they've agreed to study the study. which is probably gonna take a few more years.
At least one.
So I like the way this is said 100% COCA or the other one, because, you know, I think we would be remiss if we did not ask for the 100% COCA, because we're at 25%.
Okay.
Either that one or the other, although I think ultimately I would agree that the JLARC would benefit us more, but that's just not correct.
What would you all recommend for item number 2? Let's just go to 5, and then we can kind of, you know, kind of fluctuate after that.
removal of the support caps.
You do still like that as number 2?
So,
I like
Or
the
do we
school
want the
tax for
construction?
I feel like the school, if it's gonna take this long, I think it has to be one of the highest of our priorities to show, I mean, we're up against it, let's face it. So
Yeah.
to me, they've gotta see that we see that as a priority.
Yeah, but
That's
which
just
one
how I
gets
feel.
us more money?
The removal of the support cap gets you more money every year.
Then 1% sales tax?
Well, especially because, like, isn't that how the meals tax worked here, is they said, oh, we'd get, the meals tax would go to schools, and then that would just free up other money to stay at the, you know, at the supervisor's side on other stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
an
bonus on
and.
top of our, but, you know,
No,
what
it
they
wasn't
gave
an
us,
and.
it was
Incorporated
an or.
with.
And that's my concern with, if they do another tax like that for something, it doesn't do anything for us, because it just,
They roll it
Did
in.
we use that for 3R, Chris? Is
That was our
we talked about
intention.
that
So
before.
it's supposed to be used for new construction, but what it does is allow you to shift the money. We have a lot of money tied to new construction now, so it frees money up at the county that we can shift towards 3R,
We
or
are,
not funding now.
okay.
I would love to
So
see a
indirectly.
SOQ bullet with the 3 things under it.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, could we
Could we do
just
that?
combine them as SOQ changes and then list our
So-
priorities?
Then leave the rank as 1, 2, 3, and then 4 would be SOQ, and SOQ would be bulleted with mental health assistant, ESOL, and work-based
But I
learning.
want ESOL higher up.
Yep.
Okay, ESOL
That's
higher
fine.
up.
So swap ESOL and APs, okay.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay, so that's 4. And then Narcan seems like it would be just a really,
Yeah, I think the rest.
a much easier language.
So you got a few here that are,
The
we would
lab
just
school
be
is one that we
seeking some
definitely need to.
corrections.
And put those as a separate list.
I put lunch debt up next as number.
Yeah.
5.
Number 4?
No, 4 is our.
Number 5, yeah,
yeah.
number 5.
What are we looking for
I don't
on the
know.
lunch debt? I mean, what do we?
Establish guidelines for,
To either loosen what we can collect or how we can collect,
Yeah,
or figure out like something in the calc tool that will compensate us for the fact that we can't collect.
So that should be fine.
But if they're gonna tell us we have to serve and we can't ask for our money, and our budgets are already conservative.
so am I understanding then that Narcan and the lab school law and the lab school budget are not necessarily, they are, well, the lab school law is a legislative item, right?
Well, they're all
Or is there
legislative
another way to
items,
hit it?
but I think you got a couple of things that you can claim as legislative corrections.
Okay,
Yes.
I think the Narcan.
yes,
Everything having to do with lab school, stop
Yes.
arm cameras.
yes,
You know, even the records request, employee verification in juvenile court, I think you could all claim those as just legislative corrections that we're seeking
so it makes
relief.
it seem like an easier task, but
Yeah.
still a checklist.
Yeah.
So I don't
VDOE.
I don't support the stop arm cameras. I think that is going to be a partnership with the sheriff's office. And I don't like the idea of us being able to unilaterally just go do it. I don't see how it's gonna
It's your pleasure.
succeed. That's me.
No, I
I mean,
think
I want us to work with the sheriff's
So
office.
on the
That's
bus,
us.
they would put a camera on the stop arms, when the arms come down on the bus, there would be a camera there to record anybody who drives by, and they would be given tickets.
And on that, I think
I honestly think that it should be, our local government should be taking a step to help us with this.
Well, my question on the stop arm cameras as well, Chris might know the answer to this. I don't remember if you were at the transportation meeting probably not, at Embry Mill, there were a couple of county people there. But they said that there's a reason, like we can use stop arm cameras, but we can't use them on state roads, we can only use them on local roads, or and I didn't know, because it was something that went away with the speed cameras, when that, on the, or the red light cameras or something. We'll have to ask Laura Seller, she was there trying to explain it, and she did a good job, my memory just is terrible.
Unless there's something restriction-wise on state roads, it might be more of the size of roads and the frequently of passing and the medians versus non-medians.
All right, to help move things along, I'm hearing no-go on stop arm cameras, right?
Yep.
Okay. Which leaves parallel COVID restrictions and the Numeracy Act left to prioritize if you want to prioritize it.
I think if we stay with 5, we're likely to get the attention that we need, and to leave the rest as corrections gives them a checklist, but gives us more things to get done.
So I
Right,
would
well, the
just-
Numeracy Act is not just a correction, but
Right.
I would say that given some of the issues with implementing the Literacy Act, I don't know that we want to ask to have a Numeracy Act that's going to result in similar issues, right?
True.
I mean, it's just like.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
we are already trying to implement changes that improve numeracy for our students.
Yes.
So how about we just skip that, skip the stop our cameras, and skip the parallel COVID-19 restrictions?
We're still gonna work on getting stop arm cameras, right? I want that.
We're
Oh, yeah,
pursuing
we're-
it.
This just says,
Just keeping
we're
it
not
local.
asking them to remove the local
Yeah,
ordinance requirement.
yeah, got it.
We're pursuing that.
Okay.
Right.
I just don't like the
Okay.
idea of
Right.
saying we want to just go out on our own.
Can we also write in, when we do the tax thing, can we ask them to specify that it is not to supplant local funds, but in addition to, or have it
Yes.
some sort of matching formula? If they give this, we get that, or we only get the sales tax money if they give a certain, you know?
Yeah. All right, so
Because-
let's move to our CIP project and 3R infrastructure list. Okay, and coming up with our priorities here. My only thing for
This is an
CIP.
arm workout.
My only thing for CIP is I would like to make sure that our finalized list, finalized
I
list that
know.
we have go to the supervisors has some sort of land,
Not to be determined, but.
no, not to be determined,
Identified.
by saying central,
Identified.
by saying north. If we can't say a plot of land,
Yeah.
that's all I would like to, that's just me. Okay, so obviously, 1, 2, and 3, we don't need to discuss.
We're gonna have 1,070 seats at elementary school 18. That's good. That's more than we have at any of our.
But that will never be,
That's
I
the
mean,
design
that's the
capacity.
design,
That's the
that's not
design
the,
capacity.
We are creating it so that more of that program capacity is closer to that 950 that we've really been trying to
Needing.
design.
right,
So we're designing a little bit bigger with more classroom space to allow for that.
Well, then why
Okay.
are we saying seats added if it's not seats added?
Great question.
Because we won't know the number of students that'll be gonna require
No, 'cause we
special
should
ed
be,
classes
if they're
versus
only
regular
talking about
classes.
970, but.
No, I mean.
we'll just say,
if
but
I
we
look
could
at
just say
that-
design capacity.
Well, I'm just, it just says seats
No, it
added.
says seats
I'm-
added, it doesn't
I know,
say-
I'm saying
reading
we
it
should
literally.
say, yeah.
So
let's
change it
that
to design capacity, seats added. Let's change it to
Well,
design.
I'm just questioning it. That's great. So it's gonna be a bigger school.
Take a closer look.
Yes.
It is,
It's
yes.
gonna be a bigger school.
Make sure we're.
Add more classrooms to account for that.
I
Okay,
wanted to,
so then we have our 3R project list, which, is that in this? That's not in it.
There is, it's in the,
it's
it's in the
another attachment.
back, I
the
can put it
other
up on the screen too if you'd like.
Yep, I got it.
This is conditioned upon the changes with the HVAC renovations that we discussed last time.
Yeah, can I ask if you were talking about how to put trailers on a high school campus so that the renovations could happen for the HVAC,
Yep.
but yet some of the projects you had on here were middle school, would they operate similarly?
Yes.
Or, oh, okay, so we're talking about doing similar,
It'd be-
ooh, that's
It's,
a lot of
it's,
trailers.
it's called phased occupied renovations.
Yeah, yeah.
They're pretty typical.
Actually, that's what we were talking about doing when we originally were gonna do the renovations of the elementary schools. But we had really high concerns, of course, at the elementary, different than middle and high, but we had very big concerns about noise pollution, if you will, air pollution, and proximity of workers to students.
So the other problem is we have bathroom problems. If you're closing off wings, you're gonna lose access to a lot of facilities.
Yeah, so those are all things that are considered during the design
planning of
process.
design.
Correct, and those are things that, there's never a perfect situation, right, but we can mitigate a lot of those things
Okay.
through.
I just remember that was
Sure.
part of the CIP that I was on, and that was brought to us, and that was a big no because of that. But
It's a pretty standard practice that, we did some more research and talking with Loudon and Prince William, Chesterfield, and some of the others who do this fairly regularly, and
the occupied renovation?
phased occupied renovations, yeah. And they varied back and forth over the years between using it, not using it, different approaches. It depends on the situation in the school a lot of times,
Oh, what
right?
needs to be done?
Right,
Okay.
but in general, it's an approach that we feel moving forward will help us save time and money.
Okay. I just was curious about the
I would
middle.
imagine you get stronger bids that way too, from
Correct.
better
Correct.
companies.
Right, and the bigger issue here is, we've got almost $400 million right now on that 3R list for the next 10 years. That's $40 million a year because we're so far behind, right?
Yeah.
The only way that staff feels that we can even reasonably begin to make a dent in this is to take those, think smarter about them, bring them onto the large CIP list, and get the public to understand that we have got to tackle these HVAC critical infrastructure projects, or they're gonna tackle us. It's just-
And there we are.
I think that
It's a matter of time.
it does become more of a public record when we've got it.
Right, but I'm not gonna put it above Drew.
No, I'm not either.
No.
Well, to be clear, that the order on the list, that's not necessarily a prioritization. That's the 165 the 162 up there is actually after, that's just the annual 3R, the 16 million, if you will, in annual 3R funding that would be required still, even after we do the major HVAC renovation. So we pull $250 million essentially out of this regular 3R list. We put it onto this second sheet here in these phased projects. And then you still have $162 million in 3R projects. Roofs, fire alarm systems, playgrounds, other different things that need to be done over the next 10 years.
Right, but are you proposing that we hand this that we take this over in this form to across the street? Because what they're gonna see is that
3 hours
our
above Drew.
property, our priority is gonna be capital maintenance projects from the 3R list.
I think it should be
Yeah,
its
just put
own
it-
line
yeah,
under the blue,
yeah.
but above the
That's
white
fine.
in like pink that says annual.
Yeah, that's not
This
a
is your
problem.
starting number.
Yeah, I
Starting,
agree.
we need
Yeah.
X, and then we also need this.
We just don't need the conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's also, this way it kind of makes more sense, approved, overdue.
Yep.
So, and the only thing I'm gonna request is that we do not take North Stafford Fine Arts Center off
I was
of the
gonna say the
list.
same thing.
That I think
Conversation about
that I would like to have an idea that, I don't understand why we can't build a freestanding fine arts center that could be later incorporated into a new North Stafford rebuild. And that way, we aren't waiting 20 years for a renovation that probably is never going to happen anyway, a rebuild that's never going to happen anyway, for students to have access to a fine arts center.
So we could do a separate independent facility, if you will, and set it up so that it's, if you will, the pivot point for a new facility in the future.
Well-
Keep in mind that that's gonna come with certain land development, other costs. So
Right.
that number's probably gonna go up. And depending when we
Very
actually
much.
do a future extension at that point, does it make sense to add on to now maybe a 20 or 30-year-old facility? Well, but that's something that could be standalone either way at that point.
So let me ask this then about that fine arts wing, is what is a good, if we were to do this renovation, I don't know what the plan was, but if we were to do this renovation, what is a good measure of how long that renovation, rebuild, whatever, would last?
You want 25 to 30 years to make it cost benefit. Make it beneficial cost-wise.
But to the students,
But-
it's
but
beneficial.
a free-
Oh, I get that,
Sure.
I'm just trying to say,
But
like, if it's already on here, if it's gonna cost, and I'm gonna guess, when by the time you're a renovation in that area versus a standalone facility, I think that's like super, super expensive. But I'm wondering, I mean, if we're talking about doing this renovation and the high school is already projected so far out, then are we gonna get our money's worth to leave it in there? We're not gonna be that far off.
Well, if we did it sooner, we get our money's worth.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But not in front of Drew.
Can you,
No, I mean, you know, it's.
Dr. Warren,
it's-
can you help me understand, like,
it's
where
true,
would
too.
you envision, so it would be like a fine arts center,
Fine arts
just a
center.
building all on its own where the
It would
kids
just
would
be a
go?
wing, not attached, right?
It would just not be attached,
Like,
so
that's
that
what
you
I'm
would
saying,
put
like,
it,
on
you would configure it so that it would be in a place where any new construction could be maybe put on the opposite side of it. So it would still be incorporated and used in the same complex,
like
but it's a
trailers
standalone
But honestly,
building.
would
Then
you
what do you
wanna
do
be
with the
that far
space
from the
that's in the
theater where
building,
they're
the
gonna be
current
doing all the performances? So, I mean, like,
It wouldn't be that far.
but,
Longer than
There's
walking
already a
distance.
complaint about having to go outside to get into.
oh, they go outside to go to automotive
I'm-
at Stafford. I get that, I heard
I'm
that, but I
just-
just let
yeah,
that
I'm
go.
just saying.
But the
I
thing
think
is
they
that,
also complain that the halls are so crowded that they can't carry their instruments through the halls. So there's a lot of complaints. But I was wondering, what would the price difference be if we were to have a standalone facility that had its own access to parking and was close enough to the school and in a position that we could configure a new high school construction in the same zone? Then when we do the new high school construction, we don't have to put a fine arts
I
center
would
in.
love to see what you come up with for that,
And-
because I can't imagine where that would go. That
So
would give them
right now,
access to
when
the
we were
theater.
looking at the addition, it was right on the corner, the fine arts wing is
Yes,
right there on the corner
yes.
as you kind of head back
Right.
towards the stadium.
Right,
So there's potentially space there. So we'd have to do some research. 'Cause we
Yeah.
haven't even looked at a site plan.
because
for
honestly,
that.
if you were gonna rebuild the school, it wouldn't be on the same site, you would need to build it somewhere else.
Right.
So they could be occupied in the rebuild, but then you would have the fine arts building over here and the rebuild somewhere else.
Well,
I
you
mean,
would have to design it so that it, with all that in mind.
Right, but I mean, I'm
Depends
still
on where
looking
you
at
put
everything
it.
else that's on this list, right? So
Yeah.
we got Drew, we got Rising Star, we've got the Public Day School, we've got Heartwood, we've got additional fleet services facility. I mean, do we honestly think we're gonna get all that done and get this, I mean, are you thinking to move
That
the
far
Fine
down?
Arts Center further in? I
Well,
mean,
this
that's-
is a
No, I would-
this is a
I would-
10-year plan.
Okay.
The
Yeah, I
question
would
is, does
leave it
come off
within the
list?
10-year plan, but
Okay.
the other thing I would do is I would take off the indoor activity and aquatic center. To me,
Yeah.
that's just something, it's a great thing to have. I would love to have it, but it's a luxury that we simply can't afford when we can't replace an elementary school.
County side should be building that.
Yes, I agree with you.
Or public-private
Ms.
partnershiping
Sigmund,
that.
go ahead.
So one of the things that Mr. Fulmer said at our CIP meeting for those that didn't make ours was that it is nice to have a variety of price points on here. So if they are borrowing, say, for 2 elementary schools but can't swing a third, maybe they can swing a $20 million arts wing, because that's only half the price of an elementary school. Or fleet services, or like, we, as we have figured out, don't get to necessarily pick the order. We can suggest the order, we would like things. I think you did say on Tuesday that the high school only bus access roads are gonna be, they should have a line kind of, are those funded now or not funded now? They're gonna be like leftover money or
And
carryover
I think that's
funds?
when the story, I think it is at 27 or 28, 2027.
Yeah,
Is when they're currently tagged even in the county CIP. And the question was asked, well, how did we place that there? And I think the county probably was able to fit it there within the debt capacity and limitations because you
It's
were
a
not
puzzle
gonna.
piece.
Yes.
Did the county take off North Stafford High School wing?
It was,
The arts wing? Or
No.
did they
No, they
put
did
it
not.
on?
we are.
So the county, it's on the county plan?
it was not on the.
It was not on the county plan.
But I know Dr. Young has wanted it to be on the plan. I also.
I just don't like to deny 20 years worth of high school students the opportunity for,
The other,
Yeah.
I agree. And the only other change I was thinking about, I would like us to consider, instead of building a public day school, that we build a new North Star, and we use the existing North Star as the public day school, rather than building a day school and adding on to North Star.
Yeah, to do
Because
a
the
day school and an
preschool already
addition.
has the in-room bathrooms, it already has some of the accessibility issues, it's way bigger than Drew, but I think at its
North
current
Star?
size would give us quite a bit of expansion as far as the day school is
it would
concerned.
need some remodeling
But
though.
it's made for,
Everything would.
it's made
Because
for
it's
little
set up
tots.
for littles.
I mean, everything's made for the preschoolers there.
I mean, it would make sense to build, you could build a public day school on the same site, because there's plenty of land, but I don't know that I would recommend turning the public day school turning the North Star into a public day school.
As it would be
Because we've got-
fixtures, I mean, the
your
space, the
renovation would be
infrastructure is
just
there.
Fixtures, replace replacing low toilets, and then your soft costs of any furniture that you redo, but other than that,
The room setups are fine?
yeah, and I think it's a question of, you know, when you're replacing Rising Star, what does that look like? And do you also then pitch a parallel building somewhere else that looks very similar to Rising Star, but is in a different part of the county?
Well, what made me think of it is Rising Star rebuild, we will add seats, correct? Or no?
You will add seats.
And already, everybody south of 610 goes there. So if Rising Star gets bigger, and North Star is down here in like the no man's
Yeah,
land of our
they're gonna
CIP,
transportation zones.
is it really
that are
only
just
like
crazy.
your district that goes to North Star? Because it's like north of 610?
No, it's actually,
I
it's
mean,
Miss
my
Healy's
district.
district.
That's right,
It's in the
really,
Rock
but
Hill
like,
district.
you know, so.
Although there is a kid that comes from Whitewater, I know.
I mean, but like,
I mean, I think we may need to move North Star Edition up ahead of, you know, some of these other things, right? I mean,
Yeah, especially ahead of, you know, middle school 9, if we get a do rebuild, you know, we get some breathing room on middle school's capacity, so.
then I would either swap them or
Swap.
North Star and day school, because we are mandated to provide the services within our K-12 setting. The day school, we are required to educate them, but we are not required to do them in our setting.
And you are required to provide special education pre-K services.
Right.
You do have some financial benefit, of course. The best ROI in all of public education is pre-K.
yep.
So, you know, your return on investment for getting more students into your pre-K program yields benefits for a generation.
Well,
So,
and the state will give us money
They
for
will.
the staffing, they just don't give
Yes,
us money for the building.
facility, right.
And as far as the day school is concerned, the other issue is Stafford is kind of a drought for private day schools. We have one, one or two on Route 1 that are always full. Otherwise, they're going to Spotsy. They're going,
Richmond, Loudon, I mean.
yeah, they're going
run
everywhere.
buses.
So the location in North Stafford that I've visited, I've been in touch with, they're selling seats to Prince William and Fauquier. And if we had seats that we weren't using,
Right, but
we
the
could
public
also-
day school is the counties, it's not the
Correct.
schools. So, I mean, I don't know even, should we have it on our CIP at all?
Should it be on theirs?
that's a fine point too.
Well, maybe we should make that a 3-on-3
Or
discussion.
substitute North Star
Playground
Edition or
program.
North Star with the public day school and put the public day school in the 3-on-3 and see if the county's gonna.
Yeah,
And I
agree.
And I think the emphasis should be on the fact that it's much more cost effective for us to run their day school
Yeah.
here than it is for them to try to find private
And
play
maybe
fields.
it's more cost effective for them to renovate North Star than to build a building or
And
to.
it certainly can be thrown out as
Right.
an option.
sure.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but that means we'd also have to find land for a new North Star.
Well,
Unless we can build it on the same
There's a
site.
lot of land on that site.
Oh, is
there?
Yes,
Yeah.
when we bought it
Yeah.
because there would be.
Add-on. So
Okay.
can I just say
Actually,
something?
we're
Can I
to
just
double
say
the
Yeah.
something
building
quick?
Yeah,
size.
and then we
So-
need to get this finalized so we can get on to the next topic.
So I would, actually, I don't know if it's indoor activities and aquatic center, I hear what y'all's saying about public-private partnership, but there's a lot of things that our
Yep.
kids are not, don't have access to because our schools are too small, so we don't have a place to put things. Gymnastics is one of them. And we have tons of sports that these kids can't do because we just don't have a facility for them. So I don't wanna see that go away. I mean, I don't know how you wanna order it, but I certainly think that it's worth it for our kids to have access to more stuff. I don't know how
I
we
think
push it.
I think though that it needs to go on the county side again as well. We can
What's
definitely put
their
on.
motivation though to push
But
it
honestly, we
through?
can't, I don't wanna build an aquatic
Or-
center over instructional seats. That's
Yeah.
my
No, I
thing.
hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I don't want it removed altogether is what I'm saying, but I mean, I'm just saying like, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that this is something that would be greatly impactful to our kids
To
that
the
are in the
community
school
as
system.
well. It's not just our kids. To
Yeah.
me, this is like a luxury, not a necessity. And we can't fill necessities. And I don't mind leaving, I just think this is a community-based thing, not
Especially because we will have to
necessarily
staff
school-based.
it, we will have to fund it, we will have to have, the principal of the aquatic center and the, it's
Yeah,
a
it
night
does-
and weekend.
right.
Okay, so we're moving annual CIP or capital maintenance 3R in its own bold
It's in
section.
bullet.
We're keeping Drew, we're keeping Rising Star, we're keeping Public Day
No, I
School.
thought we were gonna pull the public day
Remove the
school.
public day school.
Remove Public Day School,
To
It's
discuss with
overdue for
303.
them, not for us.
yes, to the 3-on-3.
Well, you know, we're not meeting until next year.
Yeah, that's right. And then we're doing
move
Hartwood
North Star
up,
Move North Star up to where
under
Public
Hartwood,
Day School was,
Correct.
and put it under Hartwood, yeah.
under Hartwood,
Yes.
okay.
A new build or an addition.
A new
An
build or-
expansion?
Well, I
Let's
think
discuss
I
either
leave
way.
addition if we're not, like if we're
Right.
not doing a public day school,
We
then we
could
just do an
offer,
addition.
we could offer a renovation of existing North Star
In
and then,
exchange
and
for a
request
full
for a
build.
full build of a
In
North
North
Star.
in addition, though, not a renovation, but an addition.
Well, it's just if
Would be
they
both.
If they
decided
decide they
to,
wanted to use it for the day school, they would have to renovate it.
right,
Yeah.
and then they'd have to
So we
build us
could
a
offer
new North
that.
Star.
I think we're
Right.
putting the cart before the horse
I
here.
agree.
But,
I mean,
but we can put it in
we've
this order, and these are all
But,
discussions that can be
but we're
had.
taking the public day school off because that's not a school.
Funded
And
project.
I do
Funded
believe that
project.
that conversation
We
will
can
come
put
up
that down
sooner.
with the pink coloring with the,
I think it's
Or
gonna
put it
become
down
a
with the
conversation
aquatic
point when we get
center
through.
or
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
right,
put it down
Yeah.
with the aquatic center.
right.
Yeah,
So the aquatic and public day school are going down for county consideration.
Right.
please.
Yes,
Separate
yes.
section though.
Okay.
In a separate section for county
Yes,
consideration.
and then additional fleet services facility, is this and I'm just gonna be rough about the land, be what we were just discussing in closed?
Could be some combination, I mean, we are looking at doing some additional parking right now at the elementary school 18 land,
Okay,
so as an example, so depending how you centralize or decentralize different elements of it.
okay.
Can we,
Cause I know you need another fueling station, I know you need a bigger garage.
can we put this on the county
Lots of
because we
parking.
share the services with them?
We can put this on for county consideration for part of
In
it.
that
So there is
county?
consideration for a combined central facility that the county's doing a study on right now. And
Okay.
that's,
Oh, okay.
that's one of the
But if we
things
put that
that's,
in the,
Okay,
that's,
so
this would be, right now, considered to be a piece of that, if you will, but
this would be in
a
place,
piece of
a
this,
piece.
of their centralized
Okay.
facility as an option.
Sure.
If they don't move that direction, we can move a different direction.
Now,
but-
I'd like to see elementary school 20 moved up a couple years, 2028.
2028?
We're at 2030 currently for elementary 20.
Yeah, but I think if you're trying to
Yeah,
push all the,
Hartwood
I would
at
rather see
28.
our replacement builds done
Yeah.
before that.
You're probably gonna see the need for the Heartwood replacement sooner rather than later.
Oh, I didn't say, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So,
So 2030 is, I think,
2029.
accurate.
It's certainly not 2032, it would need to be 2030.
Yeah, I would agree, 2030.
So
And
keep
can
it
we
at
say-
2030?
Yeah,
How much?
I think, that's what I hear.
And then, middle school 9, high school 7,
and we moved North Star Addition.
correct.
Or did we put the North Star Fine Arts Wing back in? I'd like to do that.
Yes.
I would too.
I
Where
thought
do
we
you want-
did.
Yeah, where do we want that?
Where do we want it?
I would put it in
I would put it certainly before the new middle school and the new high school.
So right after
Poss-
ES
poss-
20?
Well,
No.
possibly
Maybe.
before ES 20.
How about 2030? 2029, 2030? If we take the aquatic center off, we could put it at 2029, which is what we had for the aquatic center.
Well, if they're doing, I would put it,
We look at
Yeah.
this every year. I mean, once
Yeah.
you're this far out,
I
a
mean,
year is not going to make that much difference.
I would
put it under the
Planning, but
rebuilds.
the fact that it's still there.
because it could be used with leftover money from other, like, if we plan it with other projects to stretch our budget.
A
It
low
could be,
dollar, a low
yeah.
dollar project, yeah.
it could be, yeah. So,
Well, but there's always gonna,
So
what
put
if the
it-
projects go over
put
budget,
it
there's
at,
no money left.
Put it before ES 20 or after ES 20?
Before.
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 So leave it where it is.
leave it where it is.
Okay. All right, jumping down to the bottom, the only thing that I would be curious about, and you guys know way more than I on this, what would it be to do a North Stafford rebuild before the elementary school rebuilds?
I,
Sorry to sucker punch.
no, I think,
What do you mean?
The down
You need the
below.
You need the seats though, that are coming with the elementary school rebuilds, we're adding
Okay.
300 seats a piece there. If you don't do those, then you need
Another
elementary school 21.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
So, I mean, yeah, I think there was reasons that North Stafford was like projected so far out for the rebuild, so.
But I'm just even concerned that soon on the heels of that, I mean, I know North Stafford is, was 85, or 84, 85 when it opened, but I'm just curious as to how soon after that are we gonna, and with a big bill like this, how soon after that are we gonna ask for rebuilds of other high schools? That would be a problem to ask for because we've
Yes,
got this,
because- right.
We're not gonna be able to rebuild 4 in 2 years, I can tell you that.
yeah.
We're not gonna have anywhere to put.
All right, so are we gonna leave the rebuild list as
You
is?
can just leave it as is.
For now.
I mean,
Okay.
it's such
So they
a
know.
subjective,
And
pie
then,
in the
point
sky
out
thing
our-
for the county.
The elementary schools right now are just a 1-, so they're not prioritized.
right,
Right.
right,
Um,
good,
all right,
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure.
yeah, yeah. Because I think they can be rebuilt in the order that they were gonna be.
And just to clarify the list, did we put North Stafford above Fleet Services, the fine arts wing? I would
We moved
request.
fleet services also. a
We
separate-
moved on,
Completely,
separate,
okay.
yeah.
Only because it's instructional
Yeah.
services, it's non-instructional.
And so then they have on the back is the mechanical HVAC paving priorities. And we were given this list and this is how I guess is the order that we're going to do the phased occupied work? Is that,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
So when you say it'll be 3 years for each of them? Or 4
Well,
years?
Not necessarily, in some cases, it could be a year, maybe 2.
Okay.
Right now, it's taken us about between 5 to 10 years to get through school, so be faster than that.
Yeah,
But, the high schools probably, it could be up about 2 years.
and a lot of community meetings to please, like,
Oh,
assure
yes,
parents of
100%.
safety and
Yeah.
transportation and all of that as well. So, okay. Are we good with this, ladies?
We're good.
Okay. So last is budget, oh, we did that. Oh, no, budget priorities. Last thing,
All right, are we still gonna have a closed session?
after the
After?
meeting.
After the whole, that
Closed
meeting
after.
ends, we'll move
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Somebody told me.
it. It wasn't,
No,
but
it
now
wasn't,
we're going
but
to
we're
make
doing it
Now
because
we're
we're running out of
doing
time. Timekeeper.
Hey, I told you.
Okay, so we have our budget priorities in front of us. So we have the ones that we used last year and the ones that are being recommended, proposed for this year. Has anybody looked over them?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like we need to make improved performance
Number one.
and, well, I was gonna say, and have it without and provide adequate staffing, because we revisited our staffing standards. We may still need to
Adjust.
acquire those staff and get back on our 5-year plan, but I think, I just, and provide adequate staffing kind of takes away from the message of improved performance.
Okay.
Well, the provide adequate staffing could fit under number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, because if we do number one, then we should fix the second part.
Okay, so is everyone in agreement with that?
That's fine.
Okay?
So then it's gonna read just improved performance.
Yes.
As number one.
Yep.
All right,
No,
number
maybe
two.
should we
No,
all-
are we
all
doing
of
it number
number one.
one, or are we leaving number one? Are we leaving attract and retain teachers?
Should
And
we
then
simplify
number
that
two?
by
I'm
taking
okay
off
with that,
through
because
Yeah,
we don't
let's do
have, we
that.
don't have
Competitive
highly
compensation.
qualified teachers, we're not gonna.
I mean, I know that's
We
the
can't do
budget
number
part,
Say-
but
say
we're
that
gonna
again?
take
It's
off.
gotta come first.
If improved performance is going to be, if we're taking off and provide adequate staffing, do we want to take off through competitive compensation? Because that's
Attract and retain high-quality staff. That's
correct,
it.
correct.
Yeah.
Through all the ways,
Performance.
money, through all the things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
The way
then
it's written,
improve
number 9
performance,
is the way it's written.
simplify them and,
Yeah. High quality staff. Adequate staff.
You know what though, if it's budget priorities, when we say improve performance, that's on us, but how does that fit into the budget? That's that might be our priority.
Improve performance, so through adequate resourcing.
Well,
Well, I was gonna say by providing adequate staffing, really.
well, that's
Yeah.
really
right,
the
well,
equitable
well,
distribution
actually,
of financial
right?
why
So
don't
you're
we
right
write
back
this
to-
description as part of number one, attract and retain high-quality staff, and then, because that would, in effect,
Could you say provide adequate staffing in support of improving performance or something to that effect so that we understand?
Well, I think we
We have to,
but you put the adequate, or you would put that in here, it's attract and retain, I don't know if adequate is the word I would choose,
I don't
but
think
some
that
kind-
these
staffing.
necessarily have to be our financial
Fine.
goals. I think these are what form our financial goals, so that we don't
But
get
it's the
sidetracked.
budget priorities. I
Right,
mean,
so our priorities and how we spend our money is to attract and retain staff, improve
So any
performance,
decisions we
provide,
make are
right.
fitting in
We're not
these-
going to be like
Yeah,
Yeah, it
reforesting,
doesn't have to have money
you
attached to
know.
it, it's that this is, when we do decide money, it's for this purpose. It's to support this priority.
Like when we think about, should we spend money on something, the first question should be, which budget priority does that fall under?
Yeah.
And if we can't, then we shouldn't be spending money on it, because that's not our priority.
Right.
So these are the things that we are being proposed that we should prioritize to be spending our dollars on, and should be our focus and our direction. And I like that.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so let's say this again so we can get this. And we only want 3 priorities, or are we good with 4?
We could go 4.
Okay.
We can leave 4 in there. And I think
And
4
I just-
feeds back into 1 and 2 anyway.
I love the paragraph of 4. I'm
Yes.
wondering if we should make the headline be more about putting more money in the classroom. Make it sound smart, but that's really the goal, is to make sure.
This is the proposed program.
The money follows the students.
Yeah, because that's always the question from the public, that the supervisors are always asking us about that, and that's what that really means, and we all know that. I think the header should be more to the point on that goal.
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
right here.
Okay, so. Sorry, I was helping you say that, or what, can you?
I just meant that the title, the
Yes.
bold title for number
For number
4
4,
should be very specific in that our goal is to have the money get to the student. You know, it is equitable distribution, but when you read that headline, you don't know that that means, oh, we want to send more money to the teachers, directly to the students. It just looks like we're doing math problems and
Okay.
figuring out what is equitable.
Well, I mean,
I think
Say
equitable
different-
should be in there,
Well,
but
no, well, I'm just gonna say that we list all these students, but we don't list just your average run-of-the-mill student, right? We're saying money needs to go for English language learners and for economically disadvantaged and for students with disabilities, but at no point are we saying,
It just says total number of students, like the first one
okay,
should be adjusted for the total number of students, the number with disabilities. So I'm wondering, I don't know.
can you
if
just
that's
say
what the
period
intention
after
was.
total number of students?
Funding
well,
to be
because the adjustment is for the students with increased needs.
Right now,
Otherwise, it's a standard.
we are
Then
doing
how
a
is that-
distribution
then I don't
based on
understand
total
how
number of
that's
students
equitable.
without taking into consideration all of the other needs of the school.
well, it
So
depends
it's-
on which money we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of money that we have no choice but to give it to certain groups of students.
Right.
So I don't want.
Right, I mean, so are we talking, is this just referring to school site funds, or is this referring to?
That's for me.
more specifically, the school site
It
funds.
says differentiated funding for the schools based on the needs of the student population. So instead of a flat rate of $100 per kid in the school, if a school has a higher need, it is funded to meet that need versus a school that has a
So maybe we
standard
wanna
need.
say, make that a little clearer that we're talking about school site money rather than talking about,
Yeah, put that sentence first, differentiated funding for the schools based on the needs of the student population would, that should be the lead-in sentence. And then how we're going to do that with the rest of it, maybe?
Differentiated school site funding, and have it as the first sentence.
Say that
Yeah.
again?
Well,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
last sentence, I think, should be the first
First
sentence.
sentence.
That last sentence that starts differentiated funding, we
Yes.
can change it to differentiated school site funding and then move it to the top.
Yes.
And I like, let's use that as the differentiated funding for the schools based on the needs of the school population, I think could be the
Yeah.
whole title. How many trees did we kill today?
All right. So are we good on this?
Yeah.
Okay. I thank you, staff, for helping us with this, all that we've done today.
Gosh, we have
And,
time for that closed session, right?
So do we need to make an amendment
to this agenda,
to
yeah,
the agenda for?
Yes.
Yeah.
since we didn't do that. And then add it,
Right.
yeah. Can you do that?
How long
Yeah.
are we expected to last? 'Cause
I'm gonna
I
go
don't
use
wanna
the
leave it all
restroom.
night.
Not very long.
Did we have any additional people sign up to speak rather than the 5?
I don't know. The Stafford County School Board. I would like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We would like to begin with the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colors, attention, shoulder, arm. Ready, cut, forward, march. March, on, march. Left turn, march. Colors, halt. Present. Colors. I. Order. Colors. Ready, cut. March, time. March. Right turn, march. Colors, halt. Shoulder, arms. Ready, cut. Forward. March. Colors, halt. Order, arms. Ready, cut, all out.
Thank you to the Mountain View ROTC Marine Corps program for coming out and doing the colors for us this evening. I would like to ask everyone in the room to have a moment of silence for Mia Etheridge, who was a local volunteer firefighter, and she was actually laid to rest today. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Thank you. Ms. Hall, can you call the roll, please?
Dr. Chase?
Here.
Ms. Guy?
Here.
Ms. Halsted?
Here.
Ms. Healy?
Here.
Ms. Randall?
Here.
Ms. Sigmund?
Here.
Dr. Warner?
Here.
Ms. Buckman?
Here.
And Ms. Solomon? Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We also have an amendment, I believe, to tonight's meeting, Dr. Chase?
Yes, so,
Oh,
Madam Chair,
and
I would,
I'm sorry, we need to authorize Maya to participate first, so.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Ms. Guy to participate electronically.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, we can press our buttons, sorry. Cast your votes.
I don't have a button.
Well, we're deciding about you. I voted. Tally the votes. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Dr. Chase?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would like to move to approve the agenda with the amendment of adding a closed session at the end regarding litigation matters.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, please cast your vote. Tally vote. Okay, motion is approved. Oh, Ms. Guy, can you tell us your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to our consent. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Hearing none, please cast your vote. Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. And we are moving on to announcements of administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have two administrative appointments this evening to announce. Both were actually appointed at previous board meetings. When I call your name, if you could make your way towards the front to the podium here to say a few words after I make your introduction. The very first, and this was an appointment from all the way back in May, but we've had some scheduling conflicts since then, is Miss Amy Horn, who will be the new assistant principal at Winding Creek Elementary School. Ms. Horn is a familiar face to Stafford County Public Schools. She's been the school's special education department chair for the past school year and for 8 years of service in the Office of Student Support Services, first as a program coordinator, then as a supervisor for special education and professional development. Prior to her leadership work, Ms. Horn was a teacher for students with communications disorders and hearing impairments in Stafford, Richmond, and Washington, D.C. She's a trusted leader among her peers as a special educator, having been recognized as a higher level teacher of students with disabilities, specifically with autism, based on the Virginia Autism Competencies, and a valued partner to so many in Stafford who look to ensure their work is inclusive for all students. Ms. Horn earned her Bachelor's of Rehabilitative Studies from Springfield College and a Master's degree of Education of the Deaf from Smith College and a Master of Education degree from the University of Mary Washington, and her administrative certificate from Fort Hays State University. Ms. Horn, congratulations and welcome to the Winding Creek team.
Thanks. I apologize for not being here in May. We were on vacation and then we had open house and all kinds of things that I just kept saying, I can't come, I'm so sorry. So everything is going well. I'm loving the position and being with the kids and learning as I go from a wonderful principal. And yeah, it's going great. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, our second and last appointment of the evening is somebody that we briefly introduced at our last meeting when he was appointed, and we're very excited to introduce him this evening. I'm pleased to introduce and announce Mr. Karim Johnson, who the board formally appointed at its last meeting, who is our new Executive Director for Transportation Services. He joins us from Bethlehem Central School District in New York State, which is the Albany area, where he served as the Systems Director of Student Transportation and Fleet Services. Prior to his work in New York, Mr. Johnson was a routing supervisor and transportation manager at several school districts in South Carolina. In multiple districts, he has led updates to technology systems that have improved route efficiency, accommodated changes to bell schedules, and provided more information to families and schools. Importantly, Mr. Johnson knows the work in the field from his personal experience because he started his career as a bus driver and a trainer. Mr. Johnson has been nationally recognized for his work, including being named the National Administrator of the Year by School Bus Fleet magazine this summer, and holds a national certifications in both transportation administration and special needs student transportation. We are so welcome to have you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
Well, good evening and thank you. I am very glad to be here. Have already hit the ground running.
Of course.
And just happy to serve the students of Stafford County Schools.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, following our announcements, we will step into our awards and our recognition.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Taylor. This evening, we will present 4 proclamations that reflect the importance of our partnership in education with students, families, and the Stafford community. We begin with a proclamation to recognize September 2023 as Attendance Awareness Month. Accepting the proclamation is our Coordinator of Attendance Services, Marquita Brown. Marquita, will you join us at the front, please? A proclamation to recognize September 2023 as Attendance Awareness Month. Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and we are committed to dedicating our resources and attention to reducing chronic absenteeism rates with a focus starting as early as kindergarten. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the School Board of Stafford County hereby recognizes September 2023 as Attendance Awareness Month and commits to focusing on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. Adopted by the School Board of Stafford County on this 8th day of August, 2023. Our next proclamation recognizes September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month. Will Ms. Victoria Castro, the president of North Stafford High School's Hispanic Heritage Club, please join us at the podium. Joining Ms. Castro are Andrea Loza Vargas, the vice president, Jimena Soria Perez, the secretary, Maite Vasquez Acosta, communication officer, Alex Rexroth, the vocal officer, Jimena Moreno, Will Rosales, and Christian Cooley, members. A proclamation to recognize September 15th through October 15th, 2023 as Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month. Whereas National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month celebrates the Hispanic and Latinx communities and highlights its countless achievements, now therefore be it proclaimed that the School Board of Stafford County recognizes September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month and encourages all citizens to celebrate the contributions of people of Hispanic and Latinx heritage to our community. Adopted by the School Board of Stafford County on this 8th day of August, 2023. Turn this slide in and make 2 rows. Our next proclamation will be accepted by Falmouth Elementary School social worker, Ms. Kristen Kanu. Kristen, will you join us at the podium? A proclamation to recognize September 10th through 16th, 2023 as Suicide Prevention Week. Whereas the week of September 10th through 16th, 2023 is observed as National Suicide Prevention Week, a time in which individuals, organizations, and communities around the country join their voices to amplify the message that suicide can be prevented. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the School Board of Stafford County hereby recognize September 10th through 16th, 2023 as Suicide Prevention Week and commit to focusing on mental and emotional supports for students, staff, and families. Adopted by the School Board of Stafford County on this 8th day of August, 2023. Our Our final proclamation recognizes September 10th through 16th, 2023 as Arts and Education Week. Accepting the proclamation is the Visual and Performing Arts Education Team from North Stafford High School. Team, will you please join us at the podium? A proclamation to recognize the week of September 10th through the 16th, 2023 as Arts and Education Week. Whereas arts education, comprising a rich array of disciplines including dance, music, theater arts, and visual arts, is a well-rounded subject according to Every Student Succeeds Act and an essential element of a complete and well-balanced education for all students. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the School Board of Stafford County hereby designates September 10th through 16th, 2023 as Arts and Education Week throughout the school division. Adopted by the School Board of Stafford County on this 8th day of August, 2023.
It is the arts. Oh, my goodness. I'll take this one.
Okay, I would just like to take a moment. Our board voted to support the proclamation for Suicide Prevention Week, and actually, it's for the month of September. This hits home for me because some of you may know I lost my dad to suicide 9 months ago, and I do want to be thankful to my family. Obviously, they've been here for me, my friends, but also my board members up here and staff. Dr. Chase was really good about giving me a couple of hours of her time when I just needed someone to talk to, and Dr. Warner put together something really nice for me. Ms. Sigmund and Ms. Guy were there for me when I fell apart at the end of a meeting, and Ms. Healy had to answer the phone call from me just within the hour that I found out. And Ms. Halstead has been wonderful about sending me text messages and things to think about and encouragement. Dr. Taylor and Patrick Burnett and Lionel have been really good for me as well, and a lot of people really have. So I am thankful for those that have been there for me. I would also like to say that so much of what we see in suicide prevention is about talk, therapy, and medication, and obviously both of those are helpful and needed things. But I would also like to, being on this side of it, is that there are other things that we need to be focused on, and things such as what we're eating, what we're drinking, our stinking thinking, how are we sleeping, you know, things that you're listening to, things that you're watching, and as the adults that are there for students, whether you're a teacher or a parent, it is important that you demonstrate those things of good mental health practices for yourself. I really wish my dad had made a different choice. The funny thing is that this week, when I got the memo in August that it would be this week ends September 16th, and that is also my dad's birthday. So I just really want to, as we bring this to light this month, if you can just make sure that you take care of yourself, do things for yourself, and that when you see things like be kind, it's not only for being kind to other people, because you're no good to anyone else if you're not kind to yourself. What you say in your mirrors, what you say about yourself on social media, you can stop, take a pause, and
find a way to do something good for yourself. For me, I took a monthly calendar and I scheduled myself to help myself through this month. And I'm not like saying that I have to do these things every day, but I give myself options so that I can do something nice, remember to do something nice for myself all month long. So I challenge all of you to just find something nice for yourself each day. But like I said, this is hitting home to me, and I just wanted to share a little bit with all of you and my board. I am very, very grateful for all of these ladies up here. They have really, really big hearts, and I appreciate them a lot, and Dr. Taylor too. So thank you. I will get my crap together, and don't be nice to me, because that'll just make me cry more. Okay. Okay. Oh man, sorry, Catherine. You're next.
Thank you so much. That was very moving, and I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that our hearts go out to you. So I'm going to go ahead and try and move on. So I'd like to say hello, everyone. It's so great to see everyone, and I hope everyone has had a wonderful start to the school year. It's been great to be back and have the opportunity to reconnect with peers and teachers after the summer break. So today I just have a very quick update. So I first want to mention, and I'm very excited to mention, that applications for the 2024 school year student representative position have officially opened, which is crazy to say. I feel like it did not start 9 months ago. This is such a wonderful opportunity to become more involved in the school community. So our juniors in the county are currently eligible to apply, and I would really, really encourage you to do so. So moving on, I'm sure by now at this point you're very familiar with my mental health campaign. It's something I'm passionate about, and it's something that I hope everyone else is passionate about and recognizes the importance of. So this month, I've been working to continue moving forward with our mental health initiative. So first, I would like to mention again that September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Suicide is an unfortunate reality of the modern day. And this month is an important reminder of how necessary it is for us to prioritize mental health awareness. As a part of my campaign, this month I've been working with the county to produce an infographic that aims to inform parents about common mental health disorders that present in our students. We hope to be able to distribute this infographic soon, and we encourage parents to keep an eye out for it. Parents, you are such critical aspects of your children's support networks. So it is very important that you have at least a foundation of knowledge that you are able to use to help your child if they are struggling. Now, the objective of this infographic is to begin breaking down the stigma that surrounds mental health. We want to ensure that our students feel seen, heard, and supported, and working with our parents is the perfect place to begin. Once the infographic is distributed, I'm very eager to continue broadening support networks for our students. My hope is that we can turn to peers and friends to turn them into more knowledgeable and accessible resources. Not only this, but I'm excited to continue making other resources like school counselors and psychologists more accessible to our students. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Next, we have our presentations from our Capital Improvement Planning Advisory Committee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Adam Millsap. I'm the chairperson for the Capital Improvement Program Advisory Committee this year. Just wanted to give you all a quick update on what we've been doing. I'll work through these slides here. Shouldn't take too long. Maybe I will. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So right now we have a couple vacancies. This is just a list of the folks on the committee right now. I'm from the Garrisonville district, but there's a few vacancies that we're looking to fill. I won't dwell on this. So what's the committee's purpose? To advise the Stafford County School Board concerning community perspectives about the school's division's planned capital improvement investments addressing student accommodations, facility renovation and major maintenance, land acquisition, disposition and/or development, capital equipment, and new construction. Last year, this is my second year on the committee, and last year we focused on land acquisition and thinking about what that might look like. And this year we are shifting our focus to the 3R list, which I will touch on here in a minute. So I gotta use the thing. So these are the goals we set for ourselves this year. Define and standardize the 3R criteria and ranking to formalize the prioritization of projects and provide an update to the board in September and a final product by November 2023. And then the second goal, determine new strategies to provide focused messaging to ensure adequate 3R funding to the Board of Supervisors by the end of the meeting, September 12th, 2023. Unfortunately, we did not meet the second goal. We had a few meetings where we did not have a quorum that prevented us from getting as far as we would like, but we hope to make some progress on both of these goals over the next several months before the end of the year. So what is the 3R process? You guys are probably pretty familiar with the 3R process, but just to give a quick overview. So the operations and maintenance function is the day-to-day upkeep of the general facilities. And then the 3R process, projects that are over $50,000 are typically included on the 3R list. So not things like painting and stuff like that, but bigger projects that involve larger outlays of funds. This is a sample list of 2024. So you can see there's several different things on there: intercom systems, walk-in, freezer, refrigeration, mechanical systems, HVAC, playground and play area, equipment, snow removal, storage, pavement replacement and repair. And then on the bottom, you can kind of see where the total cost is. So the total cost of all these projects is $17 million, but $9 million of this list is unfunded going forward. So this seems to be a issue every single year for the 3R project, is that much of it goes unfunded, which creates a backlog of projects that need to be repaired and replaced. And so, like I said, part of our goal this year was to figure out a way, what gets added to the list, thinking about, what process gets projects actually on this list, what's the criteria, but then also what strategies can we have that can lead to more adequate funding of the items on this list so that we don't get this huge backlog. So another thing we did last year, so I think the process for replacing schools is pretty rigorous. There's like a benchmark when it hits a certain occupancy rate, they start planning for the new school, get the land, build the building, stuff like that. The 3R process seems a little more ad hoc, and so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to examine it a little further. So some of the things we're looking at, so the current criteria are these items listed right here. So things that have to do with curriculum changes or enhancement to the curriculum that might involve some kind of capital outlays to repair or replace something or add something new. Then there's just a cyclical replacement and upgrades, things wear out over time. Environmental or regulatory requirements might change, requiring something to be done. There's growth needs, so maybe there's an expansion of a building which requires new HVAC system and things like that. Immediate needs, so something's actually breaking that's making the building unworkable for the students and the teachers and the other people who work in the building. The life expectancy of the product, safety and safety enhancements, and then new technology and improvements. So for the last few meetings we have this year, we plan to go through this list, these criteria, a couple different options, potentially rank the criteria, come up with some kind of scoring rubric that would allow us to score the projects and then put them on the list. And then, like I said, in addition to doing that, the final thing we want to do is come up with some better messaging. So hopefully we can get the 3R list, get more funding allocated to the 3R list going forward so that we don't get this backlog and gap between the needs and the funding that's available. So that was just my quick presentation. Happy to answer any questions. And if not, we will be back in November, it sounds like, to hopefully present the progress that we have so far.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
No, I just wanted to say that it's so important to hear from you guys, because as we look at these lists over and over and over again, the burden is so real, and really wanting to share that with the community and getting them to understand like how much effort goes into really looking at this and the infrastructure and the schools. And so I just want to say thank you for the hard work and for agreeing to be out, because I think this is probably the hardest committee to tweak and work around, and
Yeah.
because you're you've got not just us, but everyone else, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely, and it's been very interesting. Like I said, this is my second year on the committee, and last year we went over a little bit of the land acquisition process and some of the school funding, and the process there, while not perfect, right, seems relatively straightforward. There's a pretty good rubric and everything around it. And like I said, this process, I think, they're doing a great job, but there's just so much, it seems like, every year, right? There's like tons of things you could put on this list, and there's only so much funding, and how do you prioritize those? Just a very, very difficult, a lot of trade-offs have to be made. And so hopefully we can make some progress on this, so. Yep. Awesome.
Ms. Healy, this was your committee?
Yes, and I've learned a lot working on this committee. I want to thank the committee and also thank the staff that supports the committee, because they've provided lots of very important information, and the committee asks such good questions. It's like having a whole brand-new set of eyes looking at this, and a lot of people with expertise in areas that we benefit from as a school system. So I look forward to the next report you give, and I enjoy it very much. And are you meeting tomorrow night?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
That's the plan.
I just wanted to give you notice, although I'm there usually, but I don't count for the quorum, but I have to be somewhere else tomorrow night with some of these other folks, so
Okay.
I won't be there tomorrow.
Gotcha. Well, we've totally enjoyed having you and having your perspective from being on the school board. It's been super valuable as we work through this, so thank you so much.
I would like to thank you for pointing out that there's vacancies on the board. Many of our advisory committees do have vacancies, so if you've thought about lending your time and expertise, we could really, it would be nice if some of you would fill out your applications. You do have to reach out to your board member for the appointment, but it would be nice to get some of those vacancies filled. Thank you.
Absolutely. If I could just add to that, it's not a huge time commitment, and it's very informational. You learn a lot, and it's great to be involved in the community, especially if you're on this committee. If you have construction experience or engineering experience or anything like that, that would be super helpful. We'd love to have you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next presentation is the Gifted Advisory Committee report. Welcome, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Deidre Patterson. I'm the chair of the Gifted Advisory Committee, and we're very excited to talk to you guys tonight. I have some wonderful members, student members with us. They're going to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Cagg. I am a junior at Colonial Forge High School, and I am in the CGS program. I've been in Stafford County since about 4th grade, so I've been able to see how the system compares from before COVID and after COVID, so I've seen kind of a lot of how we get education and stuff. So.
Hi, I'm so excited to be with you guys today. I'm Peyton Brent. I'm a junior at Brook Point High School. I'm a Stafford biomedical student, and I've been to a different school in a different county about every year since kindergarten, so I've seen a lot of different honors and gifted programs, so I'm very excited to share some ideas with you guys. So we're the Gifted Advisory Committee. We're a committee of students, educators, and parents of gifted kids in the county. And we're just here today to share some ideas with you about different things we can do to improve our middle school program. So our agenda today is we have some different ideas for you guys. We have a middle school honors courses, which we think would really help with our students. We have middle school gifted summer program, a gifted resource teacher in flex time, and also a middle school gifted advisory representative. So for our honors courses, we think offering honors courses for social studies, science, and English will help engage gifted students, allowing them to dive deeper into subjects while challenging them with independent research projects.
So the intent behind our honors courses is to offer different instruction, not necessarily more instruction, definitely differentiated instruction, but it's geared towards those gifted identified students so that we give them just a little bit of a push in the right academic direction. One of the first options is we look at the stock market game. So this would be nested in one of the honors classes, whether it's honors social studies, perhaps an honors economics offering. And these gifted students would meet either after school or in the course to participate in that stock market game. It is a year-long program that looks at diversification and long-term investment over a simulated 5-year investment period. The beauty about this course is it could be interwoven into economics, social studies, and honors math.
So next up, we have our National History Day project, which is a project that helps, it's after school, and it will help research and prepare It's a year-long program where students hone their critical thinking and research skills. Students research between 5 categories and work individually or as a group. This project I have firsthand experience with it in Alexandria City. It was a required part of our curriculum. And so the first thing it helped me with is definitely research, extensive research, which I am absolutely using now in my high school courses. It helped me learn how to take constructive criticism from my peers and my teachers, and it also helped me force time management. So I had to work to hit those deadlines. And I think it's important because all these things definitely come, because gifted students are more likely to take accelerated courses in high school, and this prepares them for that.
The Gifted Summer Program. This was something that we looked at almost mimicking the Great Learning Adventure. We talked to several middle school students that were part of the Great Learning Adventure and had just rave reviews. And we kind of talked about that and said, how often do you hear from a middle schooler, oh, I loved summer school? These kids loved summer school. So we looked at this and said, well, if we are trying to find differentiated options for those middle school gifted students, how can we do that? Perhaps we offered this program during the summer, running it at the same time as the Great Learning Adventure so that we are not adding additional transportation costs, additional oversight and utilities costs, so that we can pool all those students. One thing we would want to do prior to implementing this is kind of gauge that interest. Should we do something that focuses on both math, science, and literature? Or should we talk to those students and say, all right, what are you guys interested in? We only want to do an engineering track. So we think that this could use a little bit more information. Talk to those middle school students, those upper elementary, to see what are they interested in. And then I think that we've got the faculty and the experts to run a phenomenal program.
So we also have an idea for a research teacher or a flex time. So many of the opportunities where our gifted middle schoolers are offered may occur in flex time or may be offered for the gifted resource teacher. So during the flex time, the students can have extended time to dig deeper into topics that cultivate their interest, and this can promote different things like creativity and productivity, which is really important for gifted students because they need to be stimulated often. So next we have a gifted speaker program. This program focuses on the interests that students identify, and it's similar to the flex time, but this brings in different speakers from outside, so different things that students can choose that they're interested in. And having role models and people that are involved in it in community can definitely help them explore different career opportunities and things that they may want to pursue in the future.
So next we have the independent study with field trips, and this is an opportunity for middle school students to have an independent study on a topic of their choice that they're actually interested in, and they would be able to go on a field trip in addition to that. And since I'm a CGS student, we go on many field trips very frequently, and I actually have one tomorrow, and I always love going on these field trips. And I know that if I was in middle school, I would have loved it even more. Because in high school, you get more of a freedom, but in middle school, when you go on field trips, it's just so fun. And I make so many new memories and new bonds with my friends. But not only the kind of personal part, but also in the academic part. So with these field trips, we go in person to different places where we can apply what we're learning in the classroom to actual real-life in-person experiences. For example, last year, in my sophomore year, I went to a trip to Chincoteague, which was really, really fun. It was an overnight trip, and we were able to learn a lot about the ecosystem in Chincoteague. We were able to go on night walks at the beach, and then go to the beach and learn about different organisms in life. And what was different about this is that I was able to see what I was learning from my AP biology class, but actually in real life. And it was just so, I was able to really absorb the information and process it rather than just think about it, memorize it, and put it back on a test. And it's just, it really developed my understanding of that topic in particular. And I just feel like middle school students would love it so much because I know that in middle school I would have loved to skip class, you know. But this wouldn't be skipping class. This would be, you would be working for this with the independent study, and you would be forced to do the work of the independent study, but the field trip would not only be, you know, an academic opportunity, but also a reward for the students for doing the hard work in the independent studies. And then next we have our middle school gifted advisory representative. So as a representative in high school, I just feel like I have learned a lot about how I can actually impact what I learn and what the students following me can learn. And I know that I can make a change. And since we're talking about middle school students and middle school experience, having an actual middle school student in the advisory board would be really helpful because they're living what we're talking about. And being able to have that insight of a person that's actually experiencing these things and being able to know what they would like, what would work for them, I just feel would be opening a really new perspective to the whole committee, and it would be really helpful. And not only for the board, but also to the person, you know, personally, that they can learn, that they can make an impact, and that they can actually have a choice in what happens and what will happen to the people following them.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. We spent a lot of time this year getting together and really delving deep into this middle school program. We have a lot of parents and students that really believe in the wonderful work that is being done in our county, and we worked to find programs that we felt that the school board could implement to better our students. Pending any questions, that's all we have.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Go ahead, Ms. Alston.
I'm honestly, you all speak very beautifully, so, I mean, you do too, but to comment on them, you looked a little nervous in the beginning, and I feel like don't, because you are absolutely 100% right, and you're right in the zone of where you can be. I am 100% speaking on behalf of the middle schoolers to say thank you for advocating for them, because I always feel like our middle schoolers get kind of left out of the loop on some things. So I am very appreciative that you brought them into this, and I think these are great, especially the field trip angle. I'm with you on that one. I think that's a good one. Well, there's not enough hands-on, right, anymore. It's like this is one thing. I'm not always involved on paper, but if you bring me, I'm like, oh, no way.
Completely different.
100%. So these are definitely worth all the time and energy you've put in it to give to us to consider. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Halstead. Ms. Sigmund?
I too want to thank you both for coming out here today. I love having the high schoolers on there because, like you said, you know what you would have, where you are now, what you would have wished to have or would have loved to have in middle school, to just kind of expand upon your experience going into high school. I agree that we should have middle schoolers on the, especially as we start rolling out some of these ideas, to see how they kind of catch the students and if they're, you know, having the impact on the student on the students that we expect them to and that we want them to, and to help us, you know, kind of grease the wheels and make them flow a lot better. I love all of your ideas. I love the National History Day project. I think that's great. So I really look forward to doing some of this. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Thank you both, all of you.
Thank you again. Oh, Dr. Chase? Yes.
Yeah, I was just wanted to say I was a little surprised because I remember we did do national history at some middle schools. I don't know if we're still doing it or not. And I know we did the stock market game at some of the middle schools. So is the issue that we don't have something consistent across the county, or?
So the way that we looked at this was that the middle school gifted program is not consistent across schools. And we just use this as an opportunity to say, okay, what could we do to just make a program better? And so when we looked at it, we said, all right, honors courses. That's kind of what our kids keep parroting. We'd like honors courses. So the stock market idea, the stock market day idea, and the National History Day were both brought up by parents and students that said, hey, these are great opportunities. They're probably too much to do in flex time or in an after-school activity. How could we weave them into a program? So what we were looking for was consistency across the gifted middle school program. We've got that through CGS for the high schoolers, and we sort of focused on how can we just enhance what's already there.
Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Healy.
Yeah, I want to echo the thank you for really talking about the middle school experience, because as a parent of a, gifted student who graduated many, many, many years ago, there was very little opportunity in the middle school. And I mean, there's a lot in the elementary schools, and then when you get to high school, you have other potential, avenues to use those, for outlets. But the middle school has been somewhat left out, unless you're fortunate enough to be in one of the ones that has one of the more accelerated programs. But thank you very much for looking into that. And as high schoolers, it's even doubly impressive to me that you're looking out for the younger siblings, so to speak. And I do have a question for Dr. Taylor, not for an answer right now, but since we're getting this suggestion about summer school so early in the year, is this something that we can look into? I know we don't have any funding set aside for it, but potentially look at it as something that we could look into for the next year. If I'm not speaking for the board, obviously, but we have to make sure we have funding before we can even move forward on talking about it. So if we could get some information on that, I'd be very interested. I think the parents would be very appreciative, as well as the students, for those enrichment opportunities.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate all of the intentional ideas that you had to share with us this evening. Very creative and really hit the nail on the head in so many arenas. So we will take all of these recommendations that we get and have a chance to talk about them. So thank you again for being here this evening. Okay. Our next committee is our next presentation is the 25-26 school calendar and proposed changes to the 24-25 school calendar. Dr. Stemple, is this you?
This is me.
Okay, welcome.
Well, good evening. So I'm delighted to present to you tonight. It's time to present to you the 25-26 calendar. It's 2 years out. And in doing so, we wanted to bring some proposed amendments to the 24-25 calendar, which you've already approved. So you do have an approved 24-25 calendar. And most of those have, make sure that's right. Oh no, I gotta use the mouse. My mouse skills have a lot to be desired. So I will give you a few highlights, talk about the requirements, and then we are going to, once again, we'll gather feedback and approval at a later date. So all I'm recommending tonight is that this is presented as information for you this evening only. Why are we bringing you a few changes? And that's the first question everyone would ask. And a lot of what I'm presenting, the changes or the presenting tonight, are based on input that I answer a lot of your emails, and some of these are from emails you all have gotten. The first one is the current calendar for next year shows a start date for new teachers of July 22nd, which we believe is very early and puts us at a competitive disadvantage. We did have cases in point where we started too early for some of our teachers this year, and next year it's even a week earlier. Keep in mind that the next couple of years, the Labor Day holidays as early in September as it could possibly be. That's the reason the calendar is shifted. We have added 3 religious holidays over the last year and this coming year that have not traditionally been in our calendars. Eid, Yom Kippur, and Rosh Hashanah. These were added at the request of constituents, our teachers, our students, our advisory board, our faith-based advisory board. And you do have policies that allow for absences. However, is it really an absence holiday if you've got to make up work, do work for while you're absent, or miss instruction? I'm not sure that that's equitable. So we've added those holidays in. We also believe that we need to up our ongoing professional development. Research shows that ongoing professional development is the best kind of professional development, Right now, we only offer our professional development at the beginning of the year, and once in the fall and once in the winter months, provided we have a nice winter. And we have strategically, if you look at the calendar that you've been provided, we have strategically placed some of these professional days next to holidays to give our students mental breaks throughout the year. We feel that's important. We talk about mental health and wellness, and this puts a little bit of our calendar planning into place of that as well. And you saw this last spring, it actually puts spring break in the spring. Spring actually is March 20th, so by moving the spring break, it's actually in the spring and no longer in the winter period. And importantly, for this high school person, you move your graduation days not only off of Memorial Day, but the weekend before. This coming year, graduation conflicts with AP and IB testing. Not directly because we're graduating in the evening, but you have students who will graduate the day of or the night before they're taking AP and IB exams. It also conflicts with college graduations. If we move it to a weekend, say why not go to Saturday? A couple of our major universities and minor universities in the state of Virginia graduate that weekend. So by moving our calendar where we're suggesting, you do avoid those conflicts. You will move graduation to the weekend after Memorial Day weekend, away from AP testing, IB testing, graduations, and our district playoff time as well. With that, there are some downsides. Don't want to hide from the downsides. Number one, the first semester would end after winter break. This is moving back to pre-pandemic. The year of 2020, 19 and 20 was the first year we ever started and ended the semester before the winter holiday. I will tell you, as a high school principal, one of the things I did all the years we finished the first semester after winter break was I mandated a homework-free winter break and a homework-free Thanksgiving break. And I think that's easy to accomplish in a calendar. We would no longer finish prior to Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend that year is, I think, the 24th of May. It's pretty tough to get a schedule done by the 24th of May, if we're being realistic. And we do move the teacher workday. It won't be right after the winter break. It would be still on a holiday weekend. It would be one of those breaks we're giving the kids as well, still between the semesters. So that's the downside as I see it. One other downside not listed that's not in here that we could ask a lot about is early releases. You know, what happened to all the early releases? If you've been around a while, we used to have calendars chocked full of early releases. They are nearly impossible to accomplish with transportation. And you also have a fair amount of constituents who early releases were tough on daycare. And especially if they were elementary older and they relied on high school or middle school kids to watch elementary kids. So there were several reasons, and we moved away from instructional hours. Just a quick reminder, we are required by code to have a calendar that accounts for 180 days or 990 instructional hours. We do not meet the 180 days, but we do meet the 990 instructional hours. Here's a quick chart that you can see. The current calendar is on the left. The adopted calendar, one you've already adopted, is in the middle, and what we're recommending on the right-hand column. And you'll see the changes of graduation date, the student's last day, the last day of work, and the teacher work week starting in August. If you are continuing on, you'll see spring break now is in March 24th in the spring. The teacher professional days, we go from 1 currently to 4 next year. You'll see the first semester ending January 15th. And I've also included in there, because questions get asked, what is the calendar length if it's not 180 days? There it is. And it shows you our instructional hours. When you look at instructional hours, keep in mind that we are expected to plan for inclement weather. By Virginia code, you have to make up the first 5 days and 2 days per everyone missed after that. You can make it up by planning for it, what's called bank time. It's not really bank because you don't get it back, but you do bank time. You can have plans to convert non-school days to school days, or you can hope for good weather. Hope is not a plan, as we know. So you'll see the instruction hours and what's the difference. We currently only have 30 hours of instructional time for banked hours. And then the 25-26 quickly calendar would mirror the 24-25 calendar, and you can see the mirrored date, what's proposed, and what's adopted, and what's recommended in the same chart. And the instructional hours are the same chart. We do have opportunities tomorrow. We start with some of our advisory, the superintendent starts with some of his advisory committees, and we will be presenting this, getting feedback, gathering feedback throughout this process. He has the student advisory committee, the teacher advisory committee, the employee advisory committee, and the parent advisory committee all tomorrow to present this and start getting feedback on these proposed changes. With that, I'm done.
Okay. Ladies, I would assume we might have some questions we'd like to ask. Can we go? Okay, Dr. Chase.
Yeah, I do have some questions. Yeah. So just in terms of instructional hours, when we have to empty a school because of a phone call, do we still call that day instructional?
It's a calendar base for the county, so there are exceptions if you close a school for something, water damage, we've had that before, or a flood or a leak. That
Right.
doesn't count against you. It's in your overall
Okay.
school calendar.
Okay. And then I was a little curious about Yom Kippur for this year because Jewish holidays start at sunset. And so Yom Kippur will be observed starting sundown on, or twilight on Friday. And so the actual holiday is not observed until Saturday. And so I was a little curious as to why we were giving the Friday when it's not actually the holiday. So just it's something maybe if we're doing holidays that religious holidays that we're not perhaps as familiar with, we might want to check with the local synagogue or the local mosque to make sure that where we're observing is actually, because I think we could reclaim a day for Yom Kippur next year if we were so interested. And along the same line, I have always wondered why we give off Easter Monday, since it's not.
It'd be the same line, yeah.
It's not a religious holiday, and we are getting pushed in terms of time over the course of the year. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but for me, I would give up Easter Monday because it's not actually a holiday. And then I'm always a little antsy about the day before Election Day. So creating a 4-day weekend that ends with Election Day, I always feel like it encourages people to go away for a long weekend and then they maybe don't vote. So I'm fine.
And don't vote in person, you mean?
Yes, and it has changed in that it has gotten easier to vote early and all of that, but there's still people who, if they don't have to be in town for the 4 days, they may not, and so I worry about what that message is about the importance of voting. So those are my couple of comments.
Thank you.
Dr. Warner? Sorry. Okay, sorry. I will. I got it on my phone. Mike?
Sorry, when we're choosing religious holidays, that we're actually following what would be appropriate if we're not familiar with the religion. So I have nothing else.
Ms. Hickman?
I have some of the same concerns, but for me, it would be helpful to know which holidays are on here because of our relationship with the faith group, because they are for religious observance, and what are on here because they are anticipated high need days. I think that's how we ended up with an Easter Monday, is that because the holiday is on a Sunday, and a lot of people do travel to be with their family members, they're not necessarily traveling on Easter Sunday. So they travel on Monday, and if we don't have it off, then we need far more subs than we have. But it would be helpful for us to know which we are putting on there because we anticipate a need versus the ones that are there for our community needs. Because I do want to balance those, and if we're going to take one off from column A, maybe we balance it with fixing something on column B, and vice versa.
It's a give and take, and you're
Yeah.
right. And we do build a calendar based on probability of high absences.
And
We
I
used to
I
go
want
to
to
school,
continue to
yeah.
do that.
We used to go to school on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving for years and years.
And I just think that to make an educated decision, do we want to hedge our bets and if we have to take back a day that might end up being a high-need day, rather than, offending, for lack of a better word, member of our community, because we have emphasized the importance of a particular day in the name of instructional hours. I know that when we looked at the last round of calendars, the teachers felt really, really strongly about ending before Christmas, so that they could have a break-free break, or a work-free break, and I know students in particular really like that. So do parents, because I don't want to be doing homework over break and finishing papers and science projects. Has that opinion kind of shifted? I know individuals may have changed their minds, but there was a big movement to have break before break and, a full 2 weeks at Christmas. I see we have the full 2 weeks at Christmas time still, but I have not heard a lot of people being, excited / willing to go back to a split semester.
We'll find out.
Okay. Ms. Halsted?
Part of the process,
I know
right?
we're gonna find
Yes.
It's part of the process.
Yes.
So I'm with these guys we added a lot of days off last year, and I wasn't 100% sure impactfully what that was really like, but, and I swear I recall saying I wasn't 100% on board with all of the changes, but I didn't have enough reticence not to approve it, like my argument wasn't strong enough not to approve that calendar, but, so how is it that we're just, and this has come up in just a couple emails, because everybody caught it and came right out with the emails, but we're moving like sort of 3 days, right? Am I wrong? 3 days later, as the calendar is, right? Like this way, but 3 days, 1 week, 3 days next, but we're like almost 8 days on the back end. Does that make sense? So on this calendar, we're starting August 13th and 14th instead of 6th and 7th. It's still the same 4 days, but we're almost 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as I'm seeing, after Memorial Day. So
It's 1 week later plus 2 professional days.
it's added into the center of the calendar.
So it's one week difference plus 2 professional days.
All right. I don't know, that's weird for me. I'm not so much against ending it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another to me, because I'm not a student or a teacher, so I don't want to make that my argument point. What is the flexibility that we do have in terms of, I know it's not hours-wise, but like adding minutes to the end of the day to make the instructional hours? Does that make sense? Like, do we have any flexibility there so the days can be shorter, or does it not work that way? Does that make sense?
You can add time and take time away from the school day. It adds and subtracts from your from your 990 hours of instruction. So,
But that does impact like how long we go or don't
Correct.
go or whatever. And now,
Correct.
what does that make any, like, we don't need to ask permission for that. We would just sort of look globally at how that day looks then, and then calculate those hours in based on it. So if
Right.
people were really fighting to end, May 23rd, just for an example here, it would be a heck of a project, correct?
with the calendar, the way it sits, it would be a heck of a major event to get out May 23rd and start, most people want to start after Labor Day and be done by Memorial Day. That's nearly impossible unless you take
Right.
4 days at
We're looking at a
winter.
9-hour school day. I just
4
want everyone
days
to
at
know,
winter.
like.
You can do it.
Yeah, we're looking
No
at a 9-hour
spring break,
school
4
day.
days at winter.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it, but people, whatever you give, you take.
That's right. So it's almost, it's an untenable
You can-
position. All right. So that was sort of my,
Yeah.
my way of, we have to look at this realistically. Like, we could do it, but that might not be the most favorable approach either. So how come we wanted to add more professional development days for the teachers, it's 2 more days. Those are actual days where we're working with like true professional development days. They're training, they're working on things.
Correct.
Okay,
They're
are we
not
adding
work
that in for
days.
bus drivers as well and other training programs they're all involved and included?
Yes. We
Okay,
actually, this year, for the first time, have a Spark conference for our administrative assistants.
okay, oh, wow.
Yeah, so just really quick, one of the things that we've heard from our teaching faculty is how short we are on professional development time. We've also heard that from employee groups, as Dr. Stemple mentioned, we're doing professional development for our front office staff and clerical staff for the first time in forever, it seems. Just because we see the value and we know that there's some training that they are looking forward to and need to update. The only thing I would challenge anybody with the calendar is everybody wants a day that is important to them to take off. Me, I've been lobbying for Super Bowl Monday, and depending on how Washington does, I would claim that it could be a religious experience.
You're never getting
but to that point, it's a high probability absence day, I'm just saying. But it's always a series of trade-offs.
Right.
As a high school principal, I would have loved to have operated under a schedule that had a break a semester break at the winter break. I think that's wonderful. But the question is maybe, is it worth it to us to start later, which is something that people have asked of us, in exchange for not having that luxury? And if finishing at the winter break, if that's so important, the consequence of that is starting earlier. So it's just a series of trade-offs, and it's like, if you like something and you're passionate about it in the calendar, what are you willing to trade to get what your top priority is? So this is, as good as it gets, a prioritization exercise of what's most important to you in terms of what makes sense, what's a high probability absence, and what makes the most sense or that you're passionate about as an individual.
I concur. Okay, that was it.
Ms. Guy?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm just frustrated that we have to, potentially change again. But I do understand the whys, and I appreciate the explanation, to be quite honest with you. I am very passionate about ending the semester before we go on break for those kids who are taking, incredibly high, hard classes, or just for any student, actually, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's great to be able to relax and to have a traditional break. If you're a high-achieving kid or you're a kid that's struggling, your parents are going to ask you to study over the break. And as a parent of a whole bunch of kids, I hated that. I really did. And my older kids, I was shocked at how much they said they felt refreshed in January when they started school. Refreshed and starting school isn't like a word that I expect my children to say, because they didn't like school regardless, whatever it is. But I would hate to lose that. I think it gives educators a break as well. And I think it gives parents a break. So I'm not sure if there's any other tweaks that we can do. You guys are going to be graduating on Miss Guy's 50th birthday in 25, so I won't be here. I'll be in Barbados, but do you? But I really hope that we can structure it so that we can still give people, everyone involved, a break before the semester, or excuse me, before the year ends.
Are you done?
Oh, yes, I thought y'all could see when I stopped. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I turned
we
off
can't
the
see
mic.
it. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Guy.
She forgot to add at the end of that, she was inviting us to Barbados for
Oh,
her
gotcha.
50th. Just telling you.
No, I was not. I was just saying.
Surprise, we're coming. Ms. Healy?
Guy, did you get the Be Kind message and involve all of us in your celebration?
I thought that was the month of honesty. I apologize.
No, we miss you. What can I say? How long have I known you on the calendar committee, Dr. Stemple? I mean, it's been decades, right?
20-some plus years.
If you wait long enough, all things come in a circle. But I actually like the idea of starting later. I think we started way too early this year. Our new staff had to start, it practically seemed like the middle of July. I know it wasn't, but it seemed that early. And I understand it did have a somewhat negative effect on recruiting with, staff that could go to another district and start their year much, much later than us. So I appreciate the little later start, while I also like the idea of finishing before the winter break. I think it's okay to come back and finish the semester. It might be harder on teachers than anything else because they have to reteach, some of those things. But the graduations, thank you very much for not having them the same day as most college graduations. You'd be surprised how many families we have out there that have a high school graduate and a college graduate, and they have to split up because they're on the same weekend. So I think the community will appreciate that. But those are my personal opinions. I'm waiting to hear from the community because that's who, I work for. And, the advisory groups, I want to make sure we send this to the PTO, PTSA leadership, folks. Notice I said folks and not ladies, although most of them are ladies. We got some good dads in there and parents as well. But, I encourage the community to look at these calendars and to give us that feedback because that's what this is about. This is about the community, it's about the families and the students and, what meets their needs. And I, my personal opinion is that this is probably closer to meeting the needs than, where we are today, with the very, very early start. Yes, we get an early finish, but then, we're practically going back. It's kind of sad to me to go to the stores on Labor Day weekend and see all the school supplies are already sold because they bought them, a month earlier. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for the thought that went into this. I know it's a lot of work. And as I know, it's thankless. It's a thankless task to be on the calendar committee. No matter what you come up with, there's going to be people that don't like it. So, thanks.
I would also say, I think when we were still doing mostly midterm exams, I know for some kids it is a final exam still in December before they went on break, it was helpful. But since we don't, I can see why extending it past December, although I did like the clean lines of finish in December, finish in May. But I can understand, the give and takes that you're considering. I definitely agree. I've heard it too, that the professional development is a strong ask that we've heard. And I'm also looking forward to the public input. We're seeing some emails roll in. Just keep them coming. We'd like to hear from you. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Who? Yeah, she was before Maya. Okay. Citizen comments, Ms. Hall. I'm going to go ahead and read. Individual, because we have a few tonight. Individuals wishing to comment to the board may do so at this time. Speakers shall identify themselves by name and organizational affiliation if the spokesperson represents an organization. Speakers shall also announce the purpose or topic of their comments. 3 minutes shall be allotted to each speaker or group. Citizen comment, which is profane, abusive, or threatens imminent physical harm, shall be ruled out of order by the chairperson. Although the board provides the opportunity for citizen comment, individuals desiring to register complaints against division employees or division programs, services, or activities may also utilize the procedures outlined in SCPS Policy 1113, Public Complaints. Okay, go ahead and let's call our speakers.
Shall I call the first three? We have 6 in total.
Sure, let's
Okay.
do that.
The first speaker will be Aaron Johnston, followed by John Statler, and then Jeffrey Trigger.
Okay, if I could have Aaron Johnston, is he here? No? Okay. Is John Statler here? Welcome. Mr. Trigger, if you want to go ahead and come on down, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Statler. I've been a physician for 29 years. I'm an Army veteran and completed a combat tour in Afghanistan shortly after September 11th. I routinely participate in the care of opiate-addicted patients. Most importantly, I have 2 daughters who attend Stafford County Public Schools. I'm here tonight to discuss methadone and the privately owned for-profit methadone clinic treatment center being constructed in the Woodlawn Shopping Center in South Stafford. Methadone is a synthetic opioid in the same class as morphine, heroin, and fentanyl. It is one component of a treatment plan for individuals addicted to opiates. Methadone works on the brain receptors the same as other opiates. As a result, individuals receiving methadone in therapeutic doses may experience euphoria, impaired motor and cognitive function, respiratory depression, abnormal heartbeat, nausea, vomiting, and seizures. At higher doses, respiratory arrest and death can occur. A recent study found that individuals receiving methadone are 3 times more likely to be involved in traffic collisions than those taking opiates alone. At the proposed treatment center, individuals will ingest methadone and after a brief observation period, exit the building. At that point, beginning at 5:30 a.m., they will be leaving the shopping center parking lot, which is located within 1 mile of 3 daycares, 5 elementary schools, and 2 middle schools. One of the daycares shares an entrance with the shopping center. Multiple Stafford County Public School buses pick up and discharge students at the shopping center. The Woodlawn Shopping Center has limited parking and limited access to public transportation. There are no sidewalks along Claremont Drive or Deacon Road. This will result in traffic congestion in the parking lot and adjacent roads with a high likelihood that our children will be in close proximity to impaired drivers. Our students are facing a potentially dangerous situation. In conclusion, I recognize that the opiate addiction is a crisis in America today. Stafford County needs these treatment centers, but their locations should be thoughtfully considered. A residential shopping center within shouting distance of 10 schools is not the right place. The Woodlawn Treatment Center is the right idea, just in the wrong place.
Thank you very much. Mr. Trigger? Ms. Hall, can you call the next speakers, please?
Yes, ma'am. After Mr. Trigger will be Molly Denham, then Sean Van Lavender, and Roy Searles.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Trigger. I live in the George Washington District, and I am a teacher here in Stafford County. I didn't really want to prepare the things that I'm saying because I wanted to come from the heart. The paraprofessionals and ESP people in our county are very desperate for some help. We've talked to a good many of them throughout the county, and the first thing that they say is they love being in the classroom. They love the kids. They love this part of their job. But the issue is they're not making enough money. They're not getting the respect that they deserve. Some of them have told me they're not even making $1,000 a month. Now, I don't know if you've been to the grocery store recently, but $20 you don't even need a bag for. So $1,000 it's kind of hard. I have many paras telling me that they're saying after December they don't know if they're coming back because they can get a job at a gas station making more money than they are here. They're also being told they're getting told to cover every duty possible before school, during lunch, after school. They're not getting any plannings. They're not meeting with their co-teachers. They're being asked to cover classes for an additional $10 than what I'm making, but you know, $40. Don't spend it all in one place. It's a tiring situation for them, and I really feel that if we're going to do them justice, we need to figure out some way to treat them a little better. One of the suggestions I would say is in central office, have someone dedicated to the para and ESP people. Have sort of an expectation of roles. Clarify their pay scale. They don't know what they're getting paid. Another issue with the pay scale, I believe, is the Para Plus situation. I believe it's a certificate that they can get. Many of these paras are saying they've done the work, but they haven't gotten the stipend for it. So that's a huge issue that they are talking about. I'm very concerned, how am I supposed to do my job to the best of my ability if we are short paras? What if I need to send a student out? Because I still have students that require small group services, individual group services. I can't do my job to the best of my ability if we don't address their needs. With that being said, I think I will yield my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trigger. Hi, Ms. Dunham.
Good evening, Molly Denham. I'm from the Hartwood District. It's been almost a year since the school board first held public forums advocating for the joint build of elementary 18 and 19. A year of advocacy by parents like me to the Board of Supervisors begging for money every single month. It's now been 5 months since the vote to provide funds to build these schools. That has been 5 months of no tangible action from this board, no information to the public, no request for public input, and no decisions. Your April joint meeting with the supervisors noted that we needed to open 18 and 19 in the fall of 2026. During the CIP town hall, we were told it takes at least 2 years to build an elementary school. With my public school math, that means construction, groundbreaking construction, needs to be started by the fall of 2024. That means you have 1 year from right this minute to design, plan, program, request bids, review bids, and award a bid. If you look at the planning timeline of the current high school build, they've been doing this pre-construction for almost 3 years. And you want me and the public to believe that you are going to do this same process in less than 1 year for 2 elementary schools. You can't even agree on a site, and it's been 5 months so far. You have amazing staff that I know have been working hard, and I believe that instead of listening to their expert advice and recommendations, this board seems happier playing a game of I know better than you. According to this board, no planning was done prior to 18 April, and now all of a sudden this board is concerned about future planning and hypothetical growth patterns for the county. You have a piece of land to build a school. Is it the most ideal? Maybe not. But since you did no prior planning and now you have no time, maybe we quibble about where the most perfect location in the perfect world will be when it comes to elementary 20. Maybe by then this board will actually take its job seriously and do some pre-planning for elementary 20 so we aren't in this same mess. And by the way, over the next 3 years, there will be 48 trailers in our schools. Again, using my public education math with a conservative average of 20 students per trailer, that's 960 students. Almost 1,000 students in our county will be without a seat inside their own school. I give you the same challenge I gave the supervisors last year. The next time you have to use the restroom, I want you to wait until the last possible minute because that's what my kid does. Then I want you to call your friend from the next building over, have him or her come get you, and take you across the hall or across to another building to go to the bathroom, and let me know how that disrupts your day. This is what you're doing to our kids by not building these schools as quickly as you possibly can. Get off your butt, make a decision now so we can get these schools built already.
Thank you, Ms. Denham. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sean Van Luvender, a senior at North Stafford. I'm currently a travel student enrolled within the Stafford Academy for Technology, primarily focusing on information technology. Before I begin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the school board for granting me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm thankful for the chance to advocate for the rest of my peers in the school district. Stafford County Public Schools has a long history of academic excellence by retaining outstanding teachers and faculty. Since 2008, our school district has grown significantly, and our student population has expanded greatly. Unfortunately, we do not have the facilities to accommodate this increase in students. Recently, a project has been removed from the capital improvement plan that was slated to bring more student seats and value to the education of North Stafford High School students. I think we can all agree that removing the fine arts wing is cost-effective, but it's not worth the educational value that is lost. For example, a teacher at North Stafford High School has one music class with 90 students and a small band room compared to other high schools. This class takes over a neighboring choir room, which pushes the choir class into the tech lab every other day. This limits other classes' ability to use the tech lab's resources effectively. Our space issues force us to use other areas that are meant for other subjects, making this a school-wide issue, not just a fine arts issue. I urge the school board to keep working at the overcrowding problem, as well as putting the fine arts wing back on the capital improvement plan. Sacrificing students' education for years is not worth the cost avoidance. Thank you for your attention and consideration. I intend to yield the rest of my time.
Thank you very much for your comments this evening. Is Roy Searles here? No? Okay. All right, that ends our public comments for this evening. Moving on to our action items. The first is the adoption of proposed amendments to policies 3604 and 9105. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the changes to policies 3104, 3604,
Yes.
and 9105.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All right, are there any comments, questions, or concerns? Ms. Guy, any problems?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, cast your vote. Ms. Guy?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approves unanimously. Action item 9.02, award of a contract in an amount of $139,334,000 to Howard Shockey and Sons Incorporated for the construction of High School Number 6 using VPSA bond funds and county fund balance and proffers. Are there, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the awarding of the high school 6 contract to Howard Shockey and Sons.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this?
Madam Chair, I'd like to add a couple of comments.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
First, I'd like to thank the extraordinary team that's worked behind the scenes. Our Deputy Superintendent and Chief Operating Officer, Chris Fulmer, and Jason Towery, who've worked, who is our Executive Director for Facilities, leading our construction team. And there's many hands that went into this ahead of tonight's award. This is a monumental step in moving the High School 6 project forward. We are delighted that we have a bid that we are bringing forward to the board's consideration that is under budget for construction for the High School 6. Again, that is under budget for High School 6. A lot of effort went into making sure that this project was under budget. This is not the total cost of the project, I would note. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of soft costs that will go in, things like furniture, fixtures, and components that go into this project after the fact. And that has been accounted for as well, but the construction costs are projected for tonight's consideration to be under budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taylor. That excites us. Is there any other comments?
Just
Yes, Mrs. Halstead?
to reiterate the under budget piece, the original, because this had fluctuated since I got on the board, right? It was like, hey, it's gonna be a $158 million school, then it's gonna be a $200 million school. And then the costs just keep going up and up and up. So I see a number like this, I'm a little giddy about the prospect of actually saving money and not having to do battle with that. Or, you know, not being accused of being an extravagant life spender. So if I could just ask two questions about the proposals and the process and just, you know, how, you know, were we looking at this as a lowest bid option? Was this the best option to go with? But also, you mentioned additives, that's here. Is this not furniture and stuff in there?
Yeah, so this is following the Virginia Public Procurement Act's process. It's the lowest responsive bidder. It was competitively bid. Some of the additives are not for furniture and other components that go into the building per se, but maybe other work, and Mr. Fulmer can elaborate on that. But this is just for the construction award portion of the contract, not the total school.
The original proposed for just the construction was 185, right? Ish.
No.
Okay,
No, so the total fully loaded budget is 183 million. And
Okay.
so that includes our furniture, our IT costs, that includes design, land
Gotcha.
purchase, and a few other things. So this 139 and a little bit of change is just under probably about 140 that we had budgeted for this truly construction project. So for the actual just construction award. So we are tight on contingency funds though. So right now we're under budget. We aren't saying, let's basically say, let's wait till we get to the end of the project and make sure we don't need kind of that buffer that we have in there right now. So on a project this size, you're looking at on a low end of 4% contingency, but in a high of 6%.
Okay.
And we're just right a little over 4% right now, maybe 4.4% contingency for the total construction project cost. So hopefully, with the help of, as Dr. Taylor mentioned, an amazing team. So we know we'll keep change orders under control, and we're also having some outside help to assist us there as well. To answer your question about the bid additives, the first bid additive was to upgrade to terrazzo flooring, which is similar to the tile flooring that you'll see here. A very long lifespan, minimal maintenance, so it saves us money down the road because we're not looking to replace that in a few years. And the bid additive two was just a small amount of money to upgrade some of the roofing as well. Once again, extending the lifespan.
okay, awesome, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? When you say to build up the roof system, is this also to allow for potential future of solar?
Solar. So
Is that what that
this
means?
additive isn't specifically for that, but
Oh,
the
okay.
design took that into account.
Okay,
So
what is it
what
that
we
we're
refer
building?
to as solar ready.
Okay, so what's the built-up roof system? What is that?
I'll defer to Jason on that.
Hi, Mr. Towery.
Hey, how are you? So the base bid was for a PVC membrane system. It's a lighter duty system. It's a lot more susceptible to damage long-term, so the upgrade is for a 4-ply roof built-up system, which is, it's just a better system, has a lot more lifespan, longer term, less potential for leaks.
Less leaks,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
We need that.
And
All right.
one
Yes.
more clarification. The bid additives are actually, it's common, especially in construction, but it helps to protect us a little bit for high construction costs. So if the total base bid would have come in at 145, or then maybe we wouldn't have done the additives. But since our total base bid came in and we're able to do the additives, it provided us a little bit of buffer. In this case, these are two things that we want in all of our base projects, but we were really concerned about where the budget was going to come. So we built those in as additives to add if we had the additional funding.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if there's no other questions, everyone cast your vote. Ms. Guy?
Yes, I'm glad we found a coupon, so absolutely.
Thank you. Tally the vote? I know, tally? Tally the vote? Okay, do we need to do a voice call? Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Aye.
Thank you. It passed unanimously. Oh my gosh, this was on when I first got on the board. Ooh, so exciting. All right. Okay, Dr. Taylor, it's your turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to extend my thanks and appreciation to our teachers, our students, our parents, our bus drivers, and our extended staff and community for the absolutely phenomenal start to the school year that we've had this year. We are really off and running. It's hard to believe that we're a month in, but after looking at the calendars, it's very easy to believe that we're a month into the start of the school year and halfway through the first marking period. I just have a few announcements that I'd like to share of some of the activities that are coming up in your very active school division at this time. Next Tuesday, all 5 of our Learn and Serve programs will be hosting a volunteer fair for students to learn about different organizations and different volunteer opportunities in Stafford County and the greater region. This will be hosted at Stafford High School from 5 to 7 next Tuesday. Our annual I should say, our second annual multicultural fair will be hosted at North Stafford this year on Saturday, September 23rd. Every school will be hosting a table, and we'll have some representation. We invite our families to come and share their culture and to share and learn about others' cultures in our community. This was a fantastic event last year, and we look forward to hosting it again this year. Our seniors are going to be participating on PSAT Day in October for our second annual Chart Your Future event. Our registration for this, our seniors will be continue to receive some notices about this until September 27th when registration closes. For those that are unfamiliar with Chart Your Future, while underclassmen are taking the PSAT, we transport our students to a conference-style, our seniors to a conference-style event at the Fredericksburg Expo Center, where they will have access to on-site admissions from colleges, businesses that are hiring in our community and away from our community, and also an opportunity to sit through sessions to learn how to adult and how to prepare for life after high school. The end goal of this is to prepare our kids for life after May 2024, to help give them a game plan so that they are prepared for life after graduation. So we look forward to that event. That'll happen right after the next school board meeting, but our registration does close at the end of September. I'll be hosting my Listen and Learn series. The next one comes up this Friday morning at the 610 Grounds Coffee House from 8 to 9. I do these at various locations throughout Stafford County and at various times. So if you can't make a morning meeting, that's all right. I'd love to catch you another time. It's kind of like open mic day. You get a chance to ask kind of any question you want, and I also pick up the tab for coffee too. So if you have some time this week and want to stop by the 610 Grounds on Friday, it's a great time to chat. If you are a current junior, as Catherine Buckman, our student representative, had mentioned earlier this evening, please apply for to be the next student representative to the school board. You can contact your principal for more information. We've also sent out an email to families and to students, and we also have this information posted. Our application deadline is October 6th, where schools will be going through a process, and then finalists from each school will interview with me and my team for a place on the school board representing the entirety of Stafford County and the student body. School Board Advisory Committee applications are also out. We have a number of school board advisory committees. We heard two of them present this evening, our GIAC and our our Capital Improvement Committee. We have everything from technology to school health to budget, you name it. We've got a place for you if you have an interest. We'd love to seat you on a school board advisory committee and get you involved. Those applications are due in November. And that's coming up. I would be remiss if I didn't point out, as successful and fantastic as the start of the school year has been, we're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. Every time that we hear our student representative talk, she talks about the need for mental health supports in our schools and our communities. This is very important to us. I think you're going to see some really big things from Stafford County Public Schools in the coming months about how we're going to support mental health in our schools. For our students, our staff, and our community. But we're also dealing with some very real dangers that have some heavy consequences and some concerns for us. We just recently instituted a policy that is pretty practical and pretty useful in all of the surrounding areas to us, and that's not having bags brought into some of our event spaces. This is a tough thing for folks to get used to, I get it. And it's definitely inconvenient, but please give it a try with us. We are trying to create a safe event space, whether it's an indoor event or whether it's an outdoor event. We want folks to feel welcome and safe in our school spaces, and it would go a long way if you just left your bag in your car or left your bag in a safe space when you come to our events, and just come to enjoy for a few hours, whether you're there to watch a game or a concert or something along those lines. We want you there to to be focused and enjoy the event and not have to worry about anything else at that event. As was pointed out, this is Suicide Prevention Month as well. This dovetails tremendously with some of the mental health challenges that we're facing in our community and throughout the nation. You will see big things from Stafford County in this space because we are committed to keeping every member of this community safe, whether you're in our schoolhouse or not. We are all connected to this wonderful community, and it just wouldn't be the same place without you. So please stay connected with us and learn from the resources that we have available. The last thing that I want to mention this evening, and I apologize if I'm running a little on the long side, we formed a partnership last year, and it finally bore some fruit this fall with the Stafford Education Foundation, a member of our Board of Supervisors, Dr. Pam Young, and the Silver Companies Foundation, and we presented grants to a handful of our paraprofessionals who are seeking teacher licensure. Now, this is a group of folks that have been in the classroom. They're heavily experienced in instructional strategies. They work with kids every day, but they're lacking that credential to become a teacher, and we are supporting them with a brand new program that we call Reflect Stafford. So you'll hear a little bit more about that in the future as well, but we are so proud of the paraprofessionals that received grants to offset some of the expense of their education. And we just know that this is going to be a huge part of our approach to how we continue to elevate Stafford County. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. Ms. Guy just let me know that she had to log off, so she will not be having comments this evening. And we hope that everything continues to go okay for her family. Ms. Halstead, do you want to start us off?
I'll start. So I want to start by acknowledging I spent the last couple of weeks getting to do some school visits and to have some things to really get to know some of our like 3 of our elementary schools, a middle school and Brook Point High School, and I just want to thank the principals there for taking the time, because I know they're super busy, but for taking the time to give me the tours and to show me everything that's going on in those schools. But I also did do bus driver for a day. I got to do the morning shift and the afternoon shift, and so I want to thank Terry for her patience and for explaining and walking me through everything. And I got some true insight into the the real Heartwood conundrum there and the amount of time that it takes the buses, because if I could, I don't even think I could explain to you the amount of 3-point turns that she has to make on one route in this huge bus. It's very, very in my mind, it's just a key point to me that Stafford, I feel like Stafford's a little bit like a Rubik's Cube, right? Like every time you move it one way and you think you've got all the colors lined up, somebody over here is like, nope, that didn't go that way, it's over here. And so to watch the buses try to navigate and get quickly from all of those points in the back end of Heartwood all the way over to Mountain View High School and then back over to Rocky Run while you're trying to make carefully coordinated U-turns in very small roads, some that aren't even really roads if you want to know the truth. So just a special shout out and a thank you to Terry and to all the bus drivers that have to do that every day. Now, I got a special group of kids. The high schoolers were very much on point with it's early morning, don't look at me. It's late afternoon, still don't look at me. The elementary school kids, they were super excited to have me on the bus. And I was like, I'll stay with you guys all day because you're so much fun. And then the middle schoolers, actually, I found rather pleasant, believe it or not. But I don't know, maybe I got lucky. So just a special shout out to them because that is not easy at all. I do want to take a minute to talk about the everyday life of just a teacher and whatnot and what we're seeing. I talked to a lot of them. And because we do have to focus so much on the serious parts and we hear so much of the negativity from the public, we don't really get to focus on the really beautiful things that the teachers are doing. You ladies are really good about talking to it, but there are some really good and positive things going on out there in Stafford. And to the extent that we can really help you understand that it is painful for me, particular as a representative up here and a citizen of Stafford County, to watch the cart try and pull the horse in this county every time. I'm looking at budgets, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. This is not how you plan to grow and develop a community that thrives in the long run. That's school, that's spacing, that's buildings. So for me, it's really hard to help people understand that this board is truly dedicated to getting more schools built, but we're also trying to move the horse back in front of the cart so that, I mean, I don't know, y'all are keeping track about what's happening in Westlake and Hartwood and what that will do to the school system and how crushing that actually is to us without these schools. But if we need thoughtful designs, careful consideration. And so I always hope that's arm in arm with our Board of Supervisors and that they'll help us to mitigate the weight of that development as it begins, because I'm sure it will go up quickly, more quickly than we can handle. But we're here for the long haul on that one. I just hope I can get to my residents and let them know, pay attention, because that's gonna be a big burden. I wanna talk about suicide prevention and even bully prevention. We dedicate months to things or weeks to things, but these things are everyday battles for everyone. Most of you know by now, I'm a funeral director's daughter. I grew up in a very close relationship with not just death, but suicide and the impact that those things have in a life and family. I watched many families go through what Miss Randall's been going through and what I know many people in our community and extended community have gone through. I want to just talk one point about suicide, and for those that are in a close relationship with someone who's actually committed or not attempted, but has completed suicide, you know, I want y'all to remember out of the ashes rises the phoenix. There is something beautiful from every event, and for me to speak to Miss Randall about her circumstance and understanding the relationship that I have with suicide in my life, I just want to remind everyone that talking about it is okay. Being a part of someone's life that has completed, staying a part of someone's life once they've lost someone, that's all okay too. Talk about it every day. Don't just wait for September to come. If you're feeling, you know, or a month dedicated to it, or wear a badge for a week, it's every day. It's an everyday focus that we should have. There are lots of people, unfortunately, going through this in our communities, in the surrounding area, nationally. Unfortunately, it's become more of an epidemic than I think any of us would like to see. But I personally want to remind folks that whatever you're going to, it will pass. This too shall pass. That's what my grandmother always said, this too shall pass. And so I learned to just sit in a moment and say that over and over and over again, not question when, not question why, just this will pass, just wait it out. So to speak to what Ms. Randall was saying, be kind to yourself. If no one else is, don't make that matter. As long as you are, that's what counts. Look in the mirror, find something beautiful about yourself, and tell yourself over and over again. Because I promise you, at the end of the day, yours is really the only opinion that matters. And so, Ms. Randall, thank you for your strength tonight and sharing your experience with everyone. I think that was exceptionally brave and completely pertinent, and I hope everyone heard the message that you offered and how much that took.
Okay, violating the rule about not being nice. Okay, yeah, don't call me a name. Ms. Sigmund?
Thanks. I am going to start with a finance and budget update because I tend to forget that as it doesn't have its own agenda item anymore. We did talk about quite a bit. We did get an update. We're going to start getting monthly updates on our student meal debt, and we are making some pretty good inroads on that. We had made, as a board, an investment in paying down some of that debt, but even with, and of course we did have students in school all summer, we are still whittling down. I don't have the exact number, I don't see it in the attachment, but I think we're at 273, is that about right?
Was it 243?
Okay, so I'll go with her number. It's lower than I remembered, so.
That's what I recall, in that range.
Considering we were very high, that's a better number than I expected at this point in the year, and I hope we keep trending down. And one of the reasons we do want a monthly update is so that we can watch that number. We also got somewhat of an update on the 2024 state budget. Unfortunately, there's still a lot left unknown. There was an approximate, an estimate, a best guess that we could be seeing somewhere between 16 and 17 million increase here in our county, but about 2/3 of it would be in one-time funds, and we know how much fun those can be. I'm grateful for every penny, but gosh, they make it hard to spend. As you all know, we are also discussing some really important topics, our high school academies, we're talking about our CIP, we're talking about 3R, we're talking about our budget priorities. It feels like it's right around the corner, but it also feels like we just finished this. But we so very much need your input, need your insight, want to hear from you on all of these things. There will be town halls, email us, all of that, because we can't make these big decisions without our community input. Moving into comments was a great first month, always, as with every new year, a couple of hiccups and bumps, but for me, it's been a very smooth start. I haven't seen a lot of, we got transportation moving. We've been pretty smooth in comparison to into recent years. To kind of piggyback on our anti-bullying and mental health, I see a lot of people taking out their frustrations on the front office staff and on their bus drivers. And I know how frustrating it is. I have kids in a lot of schools, but they are not the person that can help you in that moment. If you have a message, great, let's deliver that message respectfully. If you want to yell at someone because you're really, really frustrated, please call me. I've got a teenager, I've got a toddler, somebody's yelling at me all the time. I can take it, and I am happy to listen and help you fix it. But please be nice to the people who are the first people who see your kids in the morning, whether through the front office, through the bus loop, or the car drop-off loop, or at your corner. Because our community is, we've seen with our transportation updates, it's been having a lot of traffic issues that are out of everyone's control. And I know it's sometimes really stressful to not know when your kid is going to be picked up or dropped off. But the drivers especially are doing the best they can in the heat of whatever mess is out on the roads. And we are so grateful that they're out there keeping our kids safe. But again, my phone number is on the website and it's on my social, and I answer it. So please call if you just need to vent, because that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Dr. Warner?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate the 6 recipients of the grants last night. I think it's a real testament to Stafford County Schools and helping our staff achieve their goals and helping them become teachers in our system, because I know they'll be great teachers. So I would like to thank Dr. Young and the Silver Foundation and those that made it possible last night. We talk a lot about arts and education and how it helps create well-rounded students, and I really believe that North Stafford High School does need a fine arts center, so we would like to see that happen. But it's one of those things that has to be balanced with a lot of other considerations, because we are woefully behind in many of our projects. I'd like to also remind you, please consider joining an advisory committee. This is an opportunity for parents and for citizens to have to share their expertise and to help us make better decisions. We aren't all experts in construction and engineering and gifted and talented and all the other things that are technology, all the things that our advisory committees do help us with. I want to thank teachers for their patience the first couple weeks of school. I know it was a bumpy start, it always is, but I think that from what I'm hearing, things are sort of smoothing out and working a lot better, so I'm hoping that it stays that way for our teachers and our students. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Warner. Dr. Chase?
So I just want to take a little time this evening to express some concern about our recent test scores. And I had a constituent of mine send me an email and ask me to examine that data, and I did. And Our students perform below the state average in math and in reading and especially in writing. And so clearly we need to address these deficits. Prior to the pandemic, Stafford County Public Schools routinely scored above the state average. So I'm confident that we have teachers, administrators, and staff capable of helping our students get back to pre-pandemic levels. I look forward to, during our retreat, hearing what we're doing and how we're taking care of these things, but I think we need to take it very seriously as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Healy?
Thank you. I'm hoping that some of that extra funding, the one-time funding, we will be able to use to help address some of the issues we have with the learning loss. I want to thank the people that came out to the CIP, Capital Improvement Plan, Town Hall last week at North Stafford. We did have a lot of staff there, so thank you to staff that gave up your time, but the members of the community who came and the supervisors who attended. I think the more that we have a chance to share information with the public, the better support we will have for our construction and improvement program here in Stafford County Public Schools. And the question did come up at that town hall, or rather it came up as a statement that the fine arts addition to the North Stafford High School had been deleted from the capital improvement plan. And I think we clarified that was something that was in the proposed plan, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Taylor, but the board never took that off. We're about to vote on a new plan, and in fact, we discussed it earlier this evening in our afternoon work session. And, the vote is yet to come, but I did hear a lot of support for that fine arts addition, although, there are concerns to weigh, and that is how long is the school going to be, in use? It's already going on, 40 years old, versus the benefit to the students. And I think Dr. Warner very clearly articulated the benefits, as I'm well aware of the arts, and I'm hoping we'll be able to keep that on for North Stafford, and certainly before the 10 years is up for the plan. And speaking of North Stafford, I was fortunate enough to be there for a retirement celebration. You'll have to remind me of the name, Mrs.
Susan Caldwell.
Mrs. Caldwell, who is known throughout our school system, and if you all don't know her, you've seen the product of her, her art classes in every one of our schools. In fact, I mentioned at the gathering, I had just been in Rock Hill Elementary, and they had these really cool raccoons on the floor, and I said, well, where'd they come from? And they go, Mrs. Caldwell. Mrs. Caldwell is just been an institution, and will be very much missed, although I think she will be coming back to visit. Either that or she'll be hauled back. I don't know. They gave her a nice rocking chair. They should have said we sit on it here in North Stafford. But anyway, it really was a tribute to an amazing teacher who has done so much, not just for the North Nation, but for Stafford County Public Schools. And the schools, the central office, the products that she has produced, the students that she has, provided the education for are so much enriched because of what she gave us. But when I was there, I also had a chance to talk with Mrs. Sly, who some of you may know is a teacher at North Stafford. She's also the parent of A.J. Sly, who is a amazing young man who we lost to cancer about 10 or so years ago. And there is a foundation that was started in his honor, and it's the Sly Strong No. 6 Foundation. They have a website, and they do a lot of support for Stafford County students and schools, what they do, and this is in memory of AJ. And I did not know AJ, but I learned about him when I went to the dedication of the football field at North Stafford a number of years ago, which was dedicated in his memory. But Mrs. Sly told me that the Sly Strong Number 6 Foundation is pairing up with the North Stafford High School Learn and Serve and Renaissance programs to do a fundraising for the whole month of September for the St. Jude's. September is the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And they're starting this in North Stafford. It's going to be friendly competition among all the clubs. And no money changes hands. It all goes directly to St. Jude's, but they're hoping to perhaps expand this to other schools in Stafford County next year. So that's a possibility. I know we do a lot for the heart, the Jump Rope for Heart and the Heart Foundation, and that's, very strongly supported by Stafford County Public Schools, but perhaps this is something that is student-initiated, that can make a mark, well beyond the Stafford County boundaries. So I will end early, although it's not really early, and thank everyone for making this a very smooth start of the year, even though it was so darn early to start school.
I would also like to thank everyone that worked as, one of the sayings I have, personal if you will, but over my bed is a sign that says "Better Together." And I just feel like as a division, we are better together. We're better together with our citizens, our parents, and our students, our faculty, our drivers, all the professionals in the building and in the Bandy building here. Better together in that we're trying really hard to do and provide great things for our students. I was able to attend 3 first day of school. I went to 3 schools on the first day, an elementary, a middle, and a high. And the cutest experience I had was when a girl came up to me and she said, "You're short and you look safe." And I was like, okay, because she was a little thing herself in middle school, and she said, I don't know where my class is. I don't know how to read my schedule. And she showed it to me, and I said, I'm no help. But we got her help really quickly. She said, don't make me talk to anybody. It's way too embarrassing. So we got her through it, and she was adorable. I also got to attend 2 ESOL community engagement nights, one at Moncure and one at Rocky Run. And it was so nice to see all of the different ways that we were serving this population that is an extremely fast-growing population in our schools, and a challenge to make sure that we do meet all of their family needs on top of student needs. Because as a school system, we want to think it's all about education, but we also support for so many different things. Are you hungry? We got you. We used to only serve lunch. Now we serve breakfast and lunch. Some schools get it all free. Some, we don't even do reduced. We do it free. I mean, we have really stepped up what we offer to support our community. Also, engaging more with community partners. The food bank was there, and they didn't have the, I'm going to not be nice for a second, standard American diet food. They actually had fresh produce there for these families to shop and take what they need. Transportation was there. They had people there to help them with technology, whether it be an app or the Synergy programs or even their device. There was books, free books. I got to learn of that, and depending on the school, we used to have ESOL teachers that would just be a number in the school. And now, in talking with specifically Stafford High School, they actually have ESOL teachers that are geared for an ESOL teacher for math, an ESOL teacher for English. So they have them core subjects because of their population and the needs of their building. It was just the enthusiasm, the willingness to stay and do everything they could to communicate with these families and take care of them was really something to see. I also attended both CEIP nights, the one at Drew and the one at North Stafford. I do want to thank my board members that were able to make it, but also Mr. Cohen and Ms. Gary were both at Drew, and Dr. Young and Ms. Fanuch were at North. And it's nice that we get to have them come, because we need for them to hear not the voice of citizens, but also, you know, a preview of our plan, so we can get input and start conversations with our counterparts as well. I'm always in contact with mine, but we also like to reach out to others, and sometimes they receive and hear things differently from different people, so we like to be available for that. But I do want to thank everybody for, again, give me a minute tonight, but also being so engaged with trying to get our schools to do better and to be better. This month, I would highly, you know, Dr. Chase mentioned test scores. One of the biggest hurdles for test scores for us is our high absenteeism right now. Bring your kids to school. Have them come to school. If they're tired, go to bed early. Take their devices out of the room. Whatever it is that you need to do. We need your kids at school. If we didn't learn anything else during the pandemic, they do better with in-person instruction. Not at home, in-person instruction. Send them to school. We need them at school. We value them at school, and we will, and if they need a mental health break, we have places for that too. As I said, we offer a lot of things to help our students be successful throughout their day. So again, encourage that absenteeism to go lower and lower. With the numbers that we're seeing, it's just not helpful to them, for them not to be there. And with that, I know that we have to go into closed session. So are you ready? Thank you for this evening.
The school board will convene a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia to consult with legal counsel and receive a briefing by staff members regarding actual litigation, Stafford Circuit Court cases CL 22001710-00 and CL 23001635-00 regarding certificates of take, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation or litigating posture of the school board.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, let's go.
Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of Stafford County hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board.
Second.
Dr. Chase?
Agree.
Ms. Halsted?
Agree.
Ms. Healy?
Agree.
Ms. Randall?
Agree.
Ms. Sigmund?
Agree.
Dr. Warner?
Agree.